Ladies and gentlemen, monsters and delvers, the long wait is finally over. We have slogged through the depths of the darkest dungeon and finally emerged back into the world to bask in the light of glory, for it is time to rejoice as football is back, baby! So welcome in once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom, where I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me as always is my co-host, Mitch, who needs skill players, Black, and our fearless producer, Vinny. It's just one back weed, right? It's Santucci. Say hello to the hordes of adoring fans out there, boys.
Oh,
And Vinny's mic is muted, so he's not going to be saying hello to the adoring
does
fans.
skill players include like my whole roster?
I mean, you got all of your points
It
from
is. It's
quarterback,
just
kicker,
one.
and
It
defense.
is just one bad week, right?
You
Please,
better hope so.
please.
Uh,
Alex, that was a tongue-in-cheek joke because my defense and kicker was the only reason that saved me as well. So I hope you got the sarcasm in
well,
that
no,
text.
that was the point that I was making there,
Okay,
which
okay, okay,
we'll
good.
see when we go around the league. So we have a ton to
So,
cover. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, speaking of one bad week, I will say it's really nice to be in fantasy leagues where that kind of matters but doesn't matter. Because I decided to try a guillotine league this year, which means the lowest team gets chopped, and all his players go to an auction waiver. Let's
Did you
just
win
say
the
I
lowest
never made
team?
it to auction.
Oh
Well,
no.
guess you're not gonna have to worry about keeping up with that team. So you got that going for you.
So it's just one bad week, right?
Who was
For
the
your
first?
sake, I hope so, Vin. But all right, let's. We got a lot to cover. First, I want to cover some general NFL news, and then we'll get into fantasy talk. So a couple of things. Uh, so I don't know if you saw, but on the sideline week one, Neighbors and Dayball kind of got into it. They asked him post game why he looked so mad during the game, Neighbors that is, and he said he had natural bitch face, RBF for those who have never heard of natural, and it's like, okay,
That's a
maybe he
good
does,
answer, by
but
the way.
also he's losing a game to a division rival, and his new quarterback is somehow less accurate than Tommy Cutlets. Of course he's mad. Like, what kind of dumb question is that? You ask any athlete right after they've lost a game, hey, why are you upset? What answer are you expecting?
It's because Tommy
Yeah.
Cutler was able to go out there and just throw to the designed red route that Dable's thrown to. Russ thinks he's an actually good QB and a playoff QB and is going through progressions and audibly into plays that allows him to do progressions. If I were Neighbors and this play is a completely designed play call for me, I'm the only red route on the play sheet. You have to throw it to me. There's not even another option. And Russ audibles, I think I'd throw an RBF too. But by the way, that's a great answer.
Well,
And I just look at,
go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Vinny. It was sorry. It was Louis the 16th was the first one beheaded in the European revolutions, French Revolution. So you could be Louis the 16th and be famous. No big deal. First one guillotined.
So famous, you had
Yeah.
to
So
Google it
here's
apparently.
the thing.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Uh, what is Brian Daboll known for?
Losing
Like,
football
how did he
games?
get this head coaching job?
Calling plays.
So apparently, yeah, calling plays, and apparently he gets a lot of credit for the development of Josh Allen,
Sure, as
right?
he should.
But now Josh Allen has developed into a superstar, and Daboll somehow has kept this job while guys like Kevin O'Connell make Kirk Cousins good, Darnold good, possibly JJ McCarthy good. Daniel Jones goes and absolutely tears it up in the Colts system, following Kevin O'Connell for like half the year last year, and then being with Shane Steichen, who's actually a good quarterback coach as well. So like maybe like how long is Dayball's leash? Like you
Well,
you are the problem, dude. Like at
well,
what point are they just like you had the best quarterback possibly of our generation from an athletic and skill wise standpoint, and you've just been able to milk being a terrible head coach this entire time because of that?
well,
Yes.
couple of
So
things. Couple of things.
me too.
One, we're older than you think because I don't think Josh Allen's our generation. He might be the one after us. Um, but
Wow.
sorry, just I mean it's definitely
Pew
after me,
pew.
but I think it's
Shots
after
fired.
you
Pew
boys too.
pew.
Yeah, right. Pew
But
pew
also,
pew.
but also, but here's the thing about you. You mentioned Danny Dimes. Like, yeah, he did well for the Colts, but you have to keep in mind who they played. They played the Dolphins, who are considered one of the worst defenses in football this year. And Storm Duck, the corner that we talked about previously, got hurt in the first
Our
quarter.
boy,
So they lost
friend
one
of
of
the
their start.
podcast.
A bad defense lost a starting corner at the start of that game. So let's wait until the Colts play another team before we decide to crown Danny Dimes. I mean, that'd be a great comeback
100%.
story. Like if it's true, a lot of quarterbacks leave New York-based teams and get better. But let's wait a week. One interesting thing, you mentioned how short is his leash. A report came out that he actually went to ownership and asked if he could start Jackson Dart, and they told him no. So he wants to go to Dart. He does not want to play Russ, and they wouldn't let him, which tells me his leash must be pretty short if the head coach can't even choose who his starter is.
Can I build off of those two things, Alex?
Yeah,
One,
go for it.
the first thing, 100% correct, words from my mouth too. But this is what I said on the podcast like a month ago: is Dable and Stefanski's only chance of keeping their job is by associating themselves with a new QB. This is why I thought Flacco was going to be not even on the team, because if you associate and Jackson Dart comes out, or Shador or Dylan Gabriel come out and start doing well, a lot of front offices are going to be hesitant to remove the play caller on their new young star QB. So that's why Dable wants in Dart as quickly as possible, because if he builds off that, and they're going to bring Dable back, there's no shot you wouldn't, right? Why would you break that up if they're doing well? So that's obvious. That's why I was saying Russ is going to get benched or Dable is going to get fired. That's why I had no interest in Neighbors. Second thing I want to point out is to Vinny. It's the same thing with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Greg Roman is a great offensive coordinator in the NFL. He's now, after taking a couple of years off, the last 2 years he's been with the Chargers. But before that, he was with the Ravens and doing amazing and responsible for Lamar's first years. The same thing happened with Dable and Josh Allen and the Bills. He's responsible for it. But then, just like the Ravens went out and got Monken, who was the Georgia guy, you bring in that college-style offense, look and be able to perfect it with that play calling, Lamar's gone through the roof. Well, then they went and brought Joe Brady in from LSU on the Bills, and they were able to implement more of that college-style offense for Josh Allen, and he took the next step up. So it's not necessarily that Dable and Roman shouldn't get credit for Lamar and Allen. It's more along the lines of, I think that they definitely deserve the credit, but then they were more better suited for a different style offense. So I don't really know if this is a knock on Dable. I 100% am going to go back to, this is Russ. I don't think Dable wants Russ. I think he'd rather have Winston. But if
I think
Russ
the whole
beats
world
out
would rather watch Winston play football than Russ at this point.
I agree, but how do you're going to lose a locker room if Russ truly wins out the job in training camp? You would lose that whole team. It's not just one player. You have 53 men. You would lose the whole roster if Russ went out and outperformed two other QBs, and you're like, I'm going to play one of the other two to keep my job. That no one would play for you. So he might have had to start Russ and doesn't mind it, but we all know he's going to Jackson Dart earlier. But here's the upside. If he is allowed to go to Jackson Dart earlier than expected, Neighbors might be the #1 fantasy wide receiver. So there's that. I said from the beginning, I just don't want Russ, and they might not even go straight to Dart. They might go to Winston before Dart.
I mean, that'd be fantastic.
That would be wild. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. More NFL news. Tons of injuries. The ones I'm going to focus on here are just the Niners continue to be decimated. Brock Purdy going to be out this week for sure, expected to miss maybe a couple more weeks. Kittle was placed on IR. So the question is, now that Mac Jones is going to be starting for the 49ers, you're used to having teams that have no passing offense, but and also Jennings is having an MRI. You're used to teams with no passing offense, seeing 8 in the box against them, right? Derrick Henry saw it a lot in Tennessee, 8 in the box. Is CMC going to see 11 in the box on defense with Mac Jones at QB? And the only healthy wide receiver on the entire team is now Ricky Pearsall. Jennings is having an MRI, so we don't know what's up with him. Kittle is on IR. Ayuk is still on the PUP. Purdy's not going to play with multiple injuries. So you've got Mac Jones, a guy who's not good, throwing to Ricky Pearsall and literally can't name anybody else. Oh, sorry, Demaryius Robinson also still suspended. It's like, can't name anybody else on the team that catches passes. And CMC. So does CMC see 11 in the box?
They did just sign Kendrick Bourne, who was one of Mac Jones's #1 targets in New England. So there could be a rekindling in week 2. But no, I mean, honestly, like, do you just like,
cheek, they're not going to have nobody in coverage, but still, I mean, you got to admit, like, my bold predictions could not have been more wrong with the Niners just getting absolutely.
Well, Alex, I think you're fine. Like, So Vinny will probably I don't want to make Vinny happy or anything, but the I've preached the whole time. It's not. I think Purdy is overpaid. Blah blah. We don't have to get down that. Shanahan's still there calling plays, correct? Mac Jones was a product of that Patriots offense when Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator who is now the defensive coordinator of Ohio State Buckeyes, who made Archie Manning look real bad, by the way, was the offensive play caller for two of Mac Jones's year. This is no joke. When I heard this on the podcast I was listening to, I was like. Wait, that really happened? I forgot. Matt Patricia was calling the offensive plays in New England for Mac Jones. He's going to go from Matt Patricia to Kyle Shanahan on this Niners offense. I actually think this helps Purdy a little bit because they showed the propensity to give him 31 touches week one. That means they're not afraid whatsoever to use and abuse. Maybe that's why they went and gotten Robinson Jr. because Shanahan's like, wow, for us to succeed, I'm going to have to use and abuse McCaffrey. But again, I'm the biggest proponent of Kyle Shanahan creates these QBs. We went on a different podcast before about Mullins and a couple CJ Beathard and a couple of these other guys. What's his name? Jimmy G went to a Super Bowl. I don't think this is too far of a regression. I'm just being honest. I know you guys are like, that's crazy because Purdy 55 million, but I mean, we'll see. What if Mac Jones comes out and lights it up?
I did say that my comment was mostly tongue in cheek. Like,
oh, gotcha.
I don't. They could you could put out Peyton Manning in his prime, and I'd still be slightly concerned at him only having one target. Like, just triple cover Purcell. That's what I would do. If I was the defense, I'd triple cover that guy.
For sure.
So we'll anyway, but yeah,
is Purcell by himself better than the Chiefs wide receiving core?
He might be. Well, without Rice, yeah.
I don't know. Hollywood Brown had
might
16 targets and caught 10 of them last week.
That's not good. I
for
think
like 90 yards.
For 99 yards.
If I had six, if
well, I've got more coming on that later, but we'll get to that. More coming on.
Alex, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to talk crap on Hollywood Brown because I think he could do well, but that's not good.
Well, yeah, but they didn't go into the game for him. Anyway, yeah, that's another team decimated by injury.
Not to focus on
Go ahead.
Not to focus on Mac Jones too much, but I'm a big fan of the Jaguars offense this year. And one of the reasons I've tried to stay away from Brian Thomas at his price is, I think he could be top 10, but he was a true number one alpha with Mac Jones, and he wasn't that good with Trevor Lawrence. So it was like hard to buy into that at that price when all his success, if you look at his late game stats, it's absolutely ridiculous. That was all Mac Jones. So it might not be that inaccurate to say he's not that far from Purdy. I mean, when you look at draft capital, it was Mac Jones the 10th overall pick, and Purdy was the 252nd. Maybe Purdy just went to the Niners and Mac Jones went to the Patriots.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but Mac Jones came out of Alabama where they get everyone drafted highly, and how many Alabama quarterbacks have actually worked out? So, besides Hurts, who the first couple years they thought he was going to get cut, right? Because he was so bad his first couple years, he's emerged into a real QB. No shade against him, but when you look at the rest of the Alabama quarterbacks who've gone pro, A.J. McCarron, Bryce Young, they have not worked out. So Mac Jones has not worked out thus far. But yeah, let's not spend the whole episode talking about Mac Jones, please. I was just making a joke about the CMC thing.
No, we don't have to. But Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Jalen benched for Tua and then he goes on and loses a national title at Oklahoma or wins one? I forget.
He was benched in the national title game for Tua because they were so far behind. Tua came back to win the game. Then
but next year, where does he go? Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, look, again,
that's pretty impressive.
And I also want to point out that I think Jalen Hurts was better in college than some of these other guys.
Too. Gotcha.
So anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, move on.
Another thing that changed, the NFL, I don't know if you know this, not super popular story, but the NFL changed to a new ball for kickers this year to make it easier to kick. And we had so many missed extra points and field goals that multiple kickers have been cut this week because of how they basically cost their teams games. What do you guys think's up with that? It's really weird to be hey, we're going to introduce a new ball to make kicking easier and then have kicking immediately get worse. Is that just lack of skill players at the positions, or does the new ball have something to do with it? What do you guys think?
One, we probably need a bigger sample size. Two, this reminds me of when the MLB was we're just going to have newer balls. And then all of a sudden, the ball's just leaving the park on where normal fly pop-outs are just gone out of the park. I think
when the World Cup introduced the new ball a few years ago.
Yeah,
just
the
for the World
Eye.
Cup. Yeah.
the jambalaya or whatever. Sorry, I don't remember what it's called. But yeah, that ball had so much zip and zing to it. So this is just, maybe the kicks were getting too easy and they're trying to make it a little bit harder. It would be pretty fun for the audience if that ball just would wiggled the whole time during a kick. You know what I mean? Just
Well,
like a
look, if they
55
came out
yarder
and
and it's
said
just
that,
going back and forth left to
yeah,
right.
but if they came out and said, "Hey, we want to make kicking harder, so it's not as automatic for field goals," that
Yeah.
might be interesting. But they said it was supposed to make kicking easier. So if you're
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, no,
My
it's the
fault.
opposite. They're supposed to make kicking easier and kicking got worse. That if they came out and said, "Hey, we want to make kicking harder, so we changed the ball," like okay, like whether or not you're cool with that change is one thing, but I get maybe there's entertainment value. But you come out and say you changed the ball to make kicking easier and then kicking got worse. That's weird to me. Um,
That part could just be a lie though. But yeah, go on.
yeah, all right. So let's do a quick around the league recap of our fantasy league to show how everybody did here. We'll start with the Sharks getting the dub here.
Oh, sorry, I'm cutting out. I'm cutting
Oh,
out.
you're
What?
cutting out. Don't worry,
Oh.
you'll hear plenty. So Sharks serial killers. Decent performances kind of all around. The only real underperformer, I guess, would be Amarian Hampton, and that's look, because his first game as a rookie, he played against the best rush defense. I will say I would have lost had Sylvie had the wherewithal to start Justin Fields, who she drafted above Stroud. But
That's not entirely her fault though.
but I was about to
wouldn't
say
have thought Yeah.
she benched Justin Fields on the Jets against the Steel Curtain. I don't think I fault her for that at all. I'm very happy she'd made that change, obviously, because it ends up resulting in me in a win. Gummy Bears had a good performance against Spark Plugs, who did not. They also had a quarterback that laid an egg, Bo Nix. I've heard him be called Bo Picks because he did not play super well. He had 2 picks and a fumble, so 3 turnovers for Bo. Moving right along. The Avengers, like alluded to in the intro, he had great performances by his quarterback, his kicker, and his defense. No one
That's all
else
you need,
in the
baby.
double digits. I mean, Harvey's numbers looked deceptively decent until you realize that was on 6 carries and he had a 50-yard run. Like, not
Yeah,
getting
but
the ball
I
a
got
lot.
Dobbins on bench. I had a 50-50. Look on the scroll down. I had a 50-50 on Harvey and Dobbins. I could
Yeah,
have
I'm
just
gonna talk about that later. Yeah, no, I'm just talking about how you performed in the game, not what your team was gonna look
Gotcha,
like
gotcha.
moving forward. Yeah, I think the real underperformer that I'd be concerned about is Mark Andrews out of all these players because, I mean, he played the whole game. They scored a million points and he got 1 catch for 5 yards. But yeah, got the dub against Austin, who we all kind of thought was going to be one of the best teams in the league. So to get a dub over Austin, that's huge for you. Moving right along, Revis and Butthead, a team that, quite frankly, we were kind of down on, had pretty much everyone perform well, but especially Josh Allen, absolutely monster game. Matt put up a decent score, just was not enough to take care of Revis and Butthead. I think we did the math last year, and I think what was it, like 88 points is what we came up with is what you need on average to win in this league. So 92 gets the job done. And then here we have the one member of our podcast here that didn't get the dub, Team Phoenix. I think Phoenix was brought down by a couple of things, mainly a rain delay. Dak was cooking in the first half, and then a rain delay just kind of took away all their momentum, and he didn't end up getting a score. London left the game hurt. So we'll see what happens with your squad there, but you also had absolute monster performance from Derrick Henry on the other side of the ball to take you out. Going into the game, you needed Henry to just have a decent day. I think you had like an 18-point lead, and Henry scored 18 before halftime. So, so it didn't work out for you. And then lastly, the defensive struggle of the week.
Yeah, not the best week.
Dinosaurs and Penguins playing Mad Fantasy D over here. Dinosaurs get the W with some decent performers, but also some massive underperformers kind of all around here. So that's the league recap for what happened this week, which brings me into a segment I would like to discuss that I'm going to call Instant Regret or Don't Panic Yet. So I'm going to give you some players and where they were drafted, and you tell me, do you think this is something that the person that drafted them should have a regret about already because of how poorly they did week 1, or don't panic yet, it was just week 1, they'll bounce back. So we're going to start with the first rounder. I picked one from, for the first few rounds. First round, we're going with Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs put up a whopping 4 fantasy points, and he did that on 19 touches. That's right. We talked about 10 catches for Hollywood Brown only being 90. How about 10 catches for Jahmyr Gibbs for 30 yards? Because that's what he had. 10 receptions for 31 yards. It's the least amount of yards on 10 catches ever. And that includes, those fantasy PPR all-stars like Jarvis Landry, who are known for that. This is a stat line worse than a Jarvis Landry stat line, guys.
Alex, I don't know how to answer this question because I think I've told you and Vinny, and then you were on the podcast during Adam's podcast, and you were like, "Oh, don't worry, that fourth pick, 95 out of what your quote was, 95 out of 100 people who know fantasy football or whatever would have had Jameer four as the top four, clean cut." And I was looking, I'm like, I have Jameer Gibbs at 9 or 10 on my overall running backs rankings. So I don't know. I don't have regret on this one because I didn't take him in any league and wouldn't have taken him. So I
Well,
don't want to
but
have
I'm
an
talking
offensive
about for the
play
people who
caller.
did. So for the people who are in that 95% that take like
Yeah,
every league you're in, you're telling me that Jameer Gibbs fell past the top five picks? I don't
no,
believe you. So so,
no,
so
no, you're
tell
right.
me and like look if you're in a PPR league, you probably came out of this with 14 fantasy points. Like all right, it was a decent week because you had 10 receptions, right? But like
The last
that's
time
not a good
John
stat
Morton
line.
called play, the last time, okay, so instant regret for anyone who drafted him. The last time John Morton called offensive play calls, his running back was Bilal Powell on the Jets. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with like don't panic yet. Like the entire Lions team looked bad. So, but it is worrisome. I mean, 9 carries to Montgomery's 11 carries. It was like if they're not going to be as good, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I might flip this to instant regret,
This
even
is
though
your
I
fourth
had.
overall pick, Vinny. Your fourth overall pick in a draft.
Yeah,
There's
no, I
no.
would have taken it. I would have taken him if he was there over
I think
CMC and
most people
Chase. So
have.
I
I think
haven't.
look, you could argue that Derrick Henry should have been rated higher, which I think we all agree. I think one of the reasons he's not
100%.
rated higher for a lot of people is because he's not a PPR guy. But either way, like let's say top six, right? You're taking this guy in the first half of the first round in any draft you're in for the most part, right? If you go to any fantasy ranking website, they had Jameer Gibbs as a top five play, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah,
that? Yeah, so is it instant
but
regret or it's like, hey, don't panic yet? Because look, all the Lions played bad. It wasn't like it was just him. Like none of the Lions, did well. But like he was the one, in my opinion, that did the worst. And the reason I'm most concerned about him is 19 touches and only 4 points. It'd be one thing if because of game script he
yeah.
only got 5 touches, right? Like okay, that was a bad game script. But he still got the ball in his hands 19 times. A guy who's supposed to be explosive and break out and make plays, he couldn't go anywhere. He caught the ball 10 times and averaged 3 yards a catch.
Yeah, there's also an angle to this that I haven't quite considered yet is the Lions may have been at their peak last year. And so
Oh, hell
unless
yeah.
Gibbs all of a sudden starts operating in a 75-25 split, which is not happening because it was 50-50 again, then they have to match that productivity and efficiency to be worthy of this pick. And I might just admit after 1 week that I was completely wrong and that it might be instant regret.
All right. Let's move on to the next. You guys both take an instant regret on that. Interesting. So, Break, I'm worried about you, especially since I have a pie bet on Sparks making the playoffs, and you
It's
at
the
least.
value for it, Alex. It's not that Gamir Gibbs is going to be bad. I don't want anyone to get it wrong, twisted here, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
just
100%. This is all about where you drafted. Like again, anytime we
okay.
talk
All right.
about draft,
Then,
it's based on like ADP,
perfect.
where you're taking this guy. Like
That's exactly right.
this is, and it's not even whether it be because you reached on him because you had a belief in him, or because that was where he was going in ADP, and in this case, it's we're going ADP. So we'll go to the next one, which is a little different. This is a little more of maybe a reach potentially. We go to the second round, and Joseph Lee Burrow, if you will, Joe Burrow. In our league, he was the first quarterback taken off the board over guys like Allen, Lamar, Daniels, and Hurts, who all balled out week one. Again, it's just 1 week, but the Bengals put up. Do you guys know how many yards of offense they made in the second half? How many yards the Bengals had?
Wasn't
Dude,
it like
their stat line
negative
was
20 or
crazy.
You know,
something?
you know that
Look at
quote
the
from
stat
Remember
line
the
that
Titans?
game.
They don't gain another yard. Well, they gained 7 in the second half of football against the Cleveland Browns. The Cincinnati Bengals, helmed by Joe Burrow, gained 7 yards of offense. And again, I'm not saying like I know it's just one game, but only 23 pass attempts for a guy we're expecting to hurl the ball 650 times in a season, and you're taking him before every other quarterback. Is this instant regret, or is it hey he always has a slow start to the season, even though he played in the preseason? I still think he's going to start slow and he'll be fine. So instant regret or don't panic yet for Joe Burrow.
I'll make this one real quick. I had Joe Burrow as my one QB. If I had the chance to take the first QB off the board, it'd been Joe Burrow. I don't think Joe Burrow threw a touchdown until week 3 of last year. If you want to pull up the stats, Joe Burrow had 0 touchdowns until week 3, and he ended up with the stat line he did. So No, I'm not afraid of this whatsoever. Was one of those rare games. I mean, if the Bengals D is going to be overperform against a Browns offense, then every week, then sure. But there's going to be weeks where no, I mean, maybe I've gotten lucky the last 2 years because I would have gone Hurts one and I got Allen two, and this year I would have gone Burrow one and Allen went two and Lamar went three. But no, I think Burrow's still number one fantasy QB. So I think this is a massive. What's my option? Wait and see.
Don't panic yet.
Don't panic yet for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to go don't panic yet because I don't see a world where Joe Burrow falls out of the top four QBs.
Right.
Um, I would lean towards the instant regret just because again, same thing with that I mentioned with the Lions offense. I just don't see Burrow repeating 47 touchdowns and 5,000 yards of offense. I never did going into this year. So I would lean towards instant regret because Allen and Jackson should have been the picks. And this is what's gonna happen. I mean, Burrow needs to replicate a historic season to be the number one quarterback. And Allen and Jackson have done that for 3 or 4 years in a row. So
Yeah, but here's my concern. I don't mind the concern. So I don't want to speak for Miles because I know Miles didn't want Lamar Jackson personally. He's not a Lamar Jackson fan. So putting that aside, if your choice is between Burrow and Allen, I like Allen. I had him last year and I've had him many years. There are weeks like yeah, he played Lamar and they were up 40 to 25 on them. Do you know how many other weeks this year they're going to be up 21-0 in the first quarter and Josh Allen's not even going to play like past the first drive of the fourth quarter and they're just going to run the ball for the whole second half. So I think this is very, very, very much so week one wait and see because Allen's not going to play the Ravens where he has to come back from 20 something points at halftime. Yeah, Josh Allen is going to be able to do that in other games, but how many games are going to require that? Versus, look at his division: the Jets, the Dolphins, and who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? Help me out here real quick.
The
Giants.
Bills, Jets. No, Bills,
just
Jets,
no
Dolphins,
Patriots.
Patriots.
Patriots, thank you. Do you know that's 6 games this year that
Giants.
they're sorry, not Giants. I messed that up
They're
real
You
easily
said
bad.
that
bad.
with such
Mitch is
confidence.
just throwing darts at bad teams and he's hitting all over, so it's all good.
I went throwing darts at
It's
bad
not even
teams.
the wrong. It's not
My
even the right
It was not even the
conference.
Cubs.
Just
I
the
didn't mean I meant to
Giants.
say. I was like Jets. Did I say Giants? Anyways, that was way off. But anyways, you get my point. Is those 6 games? I'd be shocked if Josh Allen throws more. Let's tally it up. Those 6 games. I'd be shocked if Josh Allen throws more than 15 in the second half each of those games. So what's the math on that one?
I
You
don't
know what
know
I
if
mean?
Justin
It's
Fields
like
keeps balling out. Those Jets games might be legit. No, but I get what you're saying,
there's no
and for the
way.
record, I'm also on Don't Panic Yet. I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, historically, you know who Joe Burrow is the worst against? The Cleveland Browns. He has a 30% win rate against the Browns. It's his lowest win rate against any team, and they actually got the dub this time around, which they shouldn't have, which is a whole other story. But and also the main concern I have isn't about Burrow; it's about his protection. But I think the Browns defense might just be that good. But like he had no protection in the second half. That's why he couldn't get any yards. So hopefully they can address some of their issues on the O line and they won't play the Browns every week, but they will play them at least one more time. Anyway, moving on to the next one. We're going to the excuse me, going to the third round here. Going to where's he at? Kenneth Walker the third. Now when this pick happened, I wasn't super high on it. Others said they were, but here's my concern. The reason I have him listed here, he had less carries than Zach Charbonnet, a guy who went in like what the ninth round. So he had this. He was second basically on the depth chart. Like yeah, he started the game, but he had less carries than his counterpoint. He had 2 yards per carry, which isn't great. But hey, maybe that's just because he played a tough defense or what have you. But when you're supposed to be the RB1 and you're getting less carries than your backup, it's not like it's like, oh, well, it's passing down, so he's getting passing work. No, less running handoff carries. That's a problem considering where you drafted him versus where Charbonnet's getting drafted. And it wasn't a health issue because he played the entire game. So instant regret or don't panic yet on Kenneth Walker.
Instant regret. I mean, you said everything that needs to be said. The, Drafting a guy who's possibly in a timeshare that high up, even if there's rumors of a timeshare, to me, that's just a no-touch zone. I'm not taking a guy who may be splitting 60-40, 50-50, unless you're, the Lions offense scoring 500 points a year. So instant regret.
Okay. I'm biased here. This is just 100% hindsight. I'm going to go wait and see here. Look at the rest of the players in that round. So Nakua is amazing, but Nico, terrible 2 points. Thomas, if he didn't get that touchdown, terrible. Higgins had a terrible Sunday. AJ Brown had a terrible opening night. Chuba did good. Hampton did okay. And Evans did okay. But like, if you compare the rest of the value, this might be a wait and see because Kenneth Walker in that system, they're just, you never know. Charbonnet is not trustworthy. Walker isn't either, apparently. So I honestly don't know. I don't know if, look, do I agree Nolan should have taken him there? No, because then it could have, that could have been a Nico pick and that pushes everyone down one wide
Right, but
receiver. So maybe,
just for clarity,
so
I'm not
yeah,
all like the Miles one. Yes, was a little more Miles specific because he took him over the other kind of high tier QBs.
gotcha. Just
Like
the
you and I
value of
had
where they're
Burrow.
picking.
You and I agree with Miles. We probably would have taken Burrow. I
For
know Benny
sure.
didn't. That's why I brought it up. But this is more of a. I don't think it's wrong. Like a lot of leagues might see a Kenneth Walker going in the third round, right? So it's not necessarily
Yeah.
my dad that took it. Like if you look at the running backs in this round,
Yes.
Walker, Chuba Hubbard, Amari, and Hampton going into this round, you might have liked Walker best of the three remaining running backs, right? So like
Right.
it's more of a okay now that it's happened. If you're a guy who took Kenneth Walker in the third round, not specific to my dad, if you took Walker in the third round, are you in a position now where you have instant regret about this pick, or if you're like I'm not panicking yet because it's just one game?
Yeah, I don't think I know it's kind of shocking even for me, but I'm gonna go not panic. And even watching the replay of that game, I don't know. I think Kubiak's just gonna call it situational. He's gonna have it scripted for the first little bit, and then the second half, I think he's just gonna give to whatever running back he likes. And whatever
Are the
Dave,
Seahawks
sorry.
are they good enough to handle that though?
You might be right. That's why I'm also expecting Darnold to have a little bit better of a bounce back. You're right. So, but this is why it's a wait and see for me. And I know it's weird, but I could be easily out on this by next week. But for now, it's a wait and see.
Vinny?
Instant regret. Yeah, yeah, I'm not a Walker fan. I know why Nolan did it. I'm not judging the pick. We talked about it in real time. He had 24 picks. If you want a second running back, that's what he needed to do. So I'm not judging the pick. I'm just out on Walker.
Gotcha. All
I'm
right.
3 for 3 on instant regret. So this might be just like week one overreaction, but I'm 3 for 3
All
on
right,
instant
and
regret.
we're kind of just alternating because I keep going back and forth between our league specific and not specific. This one's gonna be a little more our league specific.
Oh no, I feel
So
like I'm getting
yeah, you're
targeted this
absolutely getting
one.
targeted. Next up on the list is in the fourth round, R.J. Harvey. So R.J. Harvey was outtouched by J.K. Dobbins 18-7, and he ceded the passing down work, which a lot of people thought he was going to get, to Batty, the third string running back that no one had on their draft board. Now, get that you also had Dobbins, so I know that you personally are fine because you have the whole backfield, which is what you need to do when you do this. But you had to take you ended up reaching for this guy, at least a lot of people thought was a reach, by taking him in the fourth round, and then you had to back him up by taking uh, Dobbins in the fifth, right? I believe. Yeah. Nope. Sorry.
No,
Where'd you take
Dobbins,
Dobbins?
Dobbins is like the eighth
Or
or
the eighth.
something.
Okay. No. Okay. So yeah, even better. So you had to take this guy in the fourth, and you got to wait till the eighth to take Dobbins. So do you have a regret about having to use a fourth round pick on Harvey when you got Dobbins in the eighth? And as it
Look,
stands, it's not his
I
backfield. I mean,
hope
keep in mind that J.K. Dobbins was a beast all last year.
I've had this argument with Austin. I've had this argument with Miles. I've had this argument with Matt. It's out in the open now. I don't really care if you're listening and you want my strategy. I don't care the name on the back of the jersey. I want backfields. Last year, I messed it up by not going Chase Brown early enough. Austin snaked him for me. But if you go back and look at my history in draft history, I started Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones in a Super Bowl. They were both the running backs for the Bucks on Tom Brady. I started Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, who are both the running backs for each other in a Super Bowl against Matt Black. I have no fear of this. I do not care the names. I will just say, when do I need to pick these guys? Okay, RJ Harvey's going in the five. If I want the backfield for the Broncos, I'm going to have to go round 4 and round 8 for these guys. That's an okay sunk cost for me. One of these guys will be the clear guy. And even if they kind of split, it's still a better situation than most of these other running backs drafted later. The other situation I was considering was the Vikings situation. And in hindsight, both those players went for a much higher value than Dobbins and RJ Harvey went. Aaron Jones and Mason went for a much higher cost. So again, I know it's weird to see RJ Harvey in the fourth. I do like that it's the third running back that Sean Payton's drafted in like 15 years, like the highest he's ever done. So And the other ones are Kamara and Ingram. So I'm just saying, like, yes, you're right. We can criticize this, but this is a total non-flex fantasy, trying to be an expert manager move. I do not want the best available running back because I
Well,
argue a lot of times.
let me rephrase it this way then, Mitch.
Yeah.
If you hadn't gotten Dobbins to complete the stack, if you took RJ Harvey in the fourth, and then instead of the person that took
It's not
Tank
worth
Bigsby
it to me.
or something,
It's not worth it to me. So next year in the fantasy draft, if you see me do a running back like this, look for who the backup split guy is. And it's like Vinny kind of said it better in words than I could say it in text or on the podcast. It's like one of these guys usually in these ends up winning it and takes it, or however he said it. It's not a true split the whole year.
Like
And
the
it's like,
Etienne Bigsby
yes,
situation.
Austin might have almost costed me a Super Bowl last year by going Chase Brown 2 rounds earlier than I should have. And the year there was one other time I forget. So, oh yeah, it was Gus Edwards and Dobbins last year. Adam went J.K. Dobbins. I wanted the backfield running backs for the Chargers, and I went Gus Edwards early in the fourth or fifth round. And Chris and Austin were at my house in the other room, and they're like, "That's such a Mitch pick" in the other room. And I'm waiting for Dobbins, and Adam goes Dobbins early, and Austin went Chase Brown early. I almost lost it last year because of that, but that is my strategy. Don't tell anyone. So yes, RJ Harvey's a little ridiculous there, but I want the Broncos running back.
All right, that one I just had to get.
So
get
next
there
year,
because-
next year when Mitch does that, I'm gonna like draft the backup 2 rounds early.
100%.
Just,
100%. The only reason it didn't screw me last year was because Austin had injuries early and had to wait on Chase Brown. Chase Brown did not take over the backfield till week 5 or 6, and it actually took a Zach Moss injury. And then he never looked back. Who is J.K. Dobbins? Mr. Injure Man himself. So if it takes to week 5 or 6 and I have to start Dobbins until he gets hurt, I'm not going to be depressed when Dobbins gets hurt. And I got Harvey in the slot. Let's go, boys.
Now you get to try to bait somebody too, Mitch.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Bait
go
whatever
do-
that you don't want. All right, moving on to the next one. One more in round 4 before we go to round 5. Isaiah Pacheco. Coming into this year, there was some mixed feelings about him. Some people thought that he was a great value because you could get him later than usual, because last year he was a first or second round draft pick. This year, because he had that injury last year, didn't look too great the last couple of games, that you're going to get him a value, but he's going to be healthy and play well. Well, he was in, they were behind all game, but the Chiefs weren't behind by like a ton of points. It was a relatively close game the entire game through against the Chargers. And he only got 5 carries. And Kareem Hunt, his backup, also got 5 carries. So he got the exact same amount of touches as his backup, which is not many. And you know who led the team in rushing? Mahomes with 6 carries. So is it don't panic yet, or is it instant regret with Isaiah Pacheco? Maybe he was falling and didn't fall far enough. Guys,
Yeah,
I'll ask
this
these
one-
questions.
this one's
The
really
implications
tough.
that one of you will answer.
Yeah, no.
No,
I
I'm
had-
letting
I had to
Vinny go
think about
first.
it. Okay,
Sorry.
so-
I was trying to be polite because like I just rambled and I was like, Vinny's turn.
I just wasn't sure which way I wanted to take this one.
Because the Chiefs' offense as a whole looked pretty bad, and when you're already trying to plan an offense without Rashee Rice, and then you have Xavier Worthy, who I guarantee they scripted so much for, go down on the first drive of the game. I don't know. I don't want to sound hypocritical because I think this is like the worst player of the bunch, but I'm gonna say don't panic yet on Pacheco because I just don't know who else is gonna take his touches. I think he just got game scripted out of the game early when they were kind of trailing and their offense wasn't moving the ball. But I don't want to say that the Chiefs are bad yet, and if the Chiefs are good, I think Pacheco will be good. So this is more about don't panic on the Chiefs, and Pacheco will follow suit versus,
What do you
instant
mean by,
regret.
can you elaborate on good? Because I think they've been to 4 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah,
Right?
I just don't. I mean, I know that they've been kind of led by their defense. I thought that the Chargers, for lack of a better word, even though it wasn't a blowout, the Chargers were like
Vinny,
the
you there?
Chiefs did not look like they
You-
belonged on the field with the Chargers for 4 quarters.
Oh, you cut out a little bit. We heard most of it. All right. Yeah, no, the Chargers were definitely the better team, and the better team won. All right. Yeah, I'm on the instant regret train. I'm concerned by this one. This one, getting five carries in a close football game when you're supposed to be an RB1, that's just not enough. Because here's the thing: like when you're an RB1, there's 2 ways to get points. One is to be a super explosive player like Bijan Robinson. He didn't get a ton of touches, but he made a lot of lot of those touches, right? Like if we go up here to Bajan in the first, I mean it was the first round. He got 18 fantasy points, and he did all that by only getting 12 carries and 6 catches. So at 18 catches, got 18 fantasy points. Whereas Jahmyr Gibbs, as we mentioned, got 19 touches, only got 4 fantasy points. So like that concerns me if you're not explosive with your touches. Other people are just volume guys. If you get the ball enough times, like Javonte Williams, who I drafted much later in the draft, look, he got 15 carries and fell in the end zone a couple times, so he got 18 fantasy points as well, because you're a volume guy. So if you're someone who is supposed to be more of a volume guy like Pacheco, because he's not an explosive runner, and you're not getting the volume, that scares me. All right, let's move on to the next one here.
I'll give my answer. I think.
Oh, sorry,
No,
no, you had my bad, Mitch. Go ahead, Mitch.
no, you're good. I'm just gonna say I think this is a wait and see because the Chargers might have last year they had the least scoring defense against them, most points least, and the very good red zone defense. This might just be a case of unfortunately the Chiefs had to play one of the top defenses in the league week 1. So yeah.
All right.
So wait and see. Wait and see.
So Mitch is on
Don't
the.
panic yet. Maybe Mitch
Yeah,
will get. Maybe
sorry.
Mitch will get it
Yeah,
eventually.
you
Don't
guys,
panic
get
yet.
that it's a rhyming scheme, right? This is like a segment on a podcast, so it has to rhyme. Instant regret, don't panic yet. You know what I'm saying? All right. Last one.
Instant regret, wait
well,
and see.
not the last one, but the last real one. Aaron Jones.
We should skip this round. I think we should skip this round.
Aaron
No, I've
Jones
got a
here.
couple in this round.
Yeah, well, so I take that. There are two round 5 ones for me. Aaron Jones here. There was a lot of debate about, is it going to be him? Is it going to be Jordan Mason? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Aaron Jones came into this week, and if you're looking at his points for here, you're like, oh, well, he had 12 fantasy points. That's a solid day, especially for a guy in round 5. It is, but that's because he caught a touchdown. That's not going to happen every day. The more concerning thing is Aaron Jones was out carried by Jordan Mason 15-8. Jordan Mason went around after him, so you took this guy around before Mason, and he got double the touches. Is that instant regret, or is that don't panic yet?
Again, this goes back to the conversation we've already had, so I'll make it quick. But this is only instant regret because you didn't get the backup. But to Nolan's defense, he probably didn't expect Jordan Mason to go round 6 to get the Vikings backfield. You need a round 5 and round 6 for that sunk cost or whatever. So it's like that might just be Nolan thinking he had a round or 2 to go Jordan Mason. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Aaron Jones, I could get Jordan Mason in round 7 or 8 or whatever, and then boom, next before he even picks again, Jordan Mason's gone. That's rough. So yeah, instant regret just because I didn't get Jordan Mason. But imagine if you had Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason in the way you have Harvey or Dobbins. That would be great. Boom, set.
Well, I mean,
Championship.
counterpoint. What if it ends up being a true split back situation? Then neither of them can be great necessarily. But yeah,
Yeah, sure.
but again, it's about where you drafted him, right? Like this is pick, what is this, round 5? So this is pick 49, and Jordan Mason goes another 14 picks after that or whatever it is. And then the last one I have for you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vinny. I keep skipping people. Go ahead, Vin. I'm sorry.
No, I watched the game in the most biased way possible because I do have Aaron Jones in quite a few leagues. Just mainly dynasty leagues. So I've had him on my roster for a few years now. And I was trying to convince myself that he looked good. Jordan Mason was just better. It's instant regret that, it was a 30-yard touchdown pass, 27 yards or so. So, yeah, no. Jordan Mason looked like the much better ball carrier in this offense. Now, the one thing is, you could argue the Vikings didn't look great, so maybe they're going to be in a lot of passing situations, and in that case, Jones will be on the field more, but it didn't look good.
Yeah, for sure. The last one for me, 5th rounder, Caleb Johnson, 1 carry, -2 yards. Rough outing for the rookie. And quite frankly, Aaron Rodgers isn't a guy who's big on rookies to begin with. He's not big on people in general, but especially rookies. What do you guys think of that?
It's not. Oh, that's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a type of pick that could win you a league or lose you, or not lose you a league, but you're trying to, swing for a fence pick.
Yeah, I want to say don't panic yet because I, I don't know.
Well, don't.
I don't want any shares of Caleb Johnson, but I don't think Jalen Warren is that good. What's really strange is the best backup of all of this is Kenneth Gainwell, and he wasn't on anybody's radar. So I'm going to say don't panic yet because I don't think any of them are that good. So Caleb Johnson has the potential to be that rookie who just like week after week goes from 1 carry to 5 carries to 12 carries to 20 carries. So I'm gonna say don't panic yet.
All right, that was my segment. Instant regret, don't panic yet. Hope you gentlemen enjoyed it. And now let's move on to some overreactions, boys. So I asked you guys to prepare 2 to 3 overreactions from week one. We did this last year. So again, this isn't like a prediction what you think is necessarily really going to happen, but what are your overreactions from what you saw on the field week one? I'll let you gentlemen decide who goes first, and let's go one at a time here. What is your first overreaction?
Yeah,
You want me to
I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna double down on my bold prediction to start with. Let's just start with the low-hanging fruit. My week one overreaction is that Sam Darnold is hot garbage. He will be benched by Jalen Milroe, and it just my week one overreaction is just that the Seahawks look terrible. Darnold looked terrible, and what I said is kind of a joke in our bold picks because I was like, I'm just gonna pick a quarterback, and I think it'd be great to pick Darnold. I'm gonna say Darnold was a is the week one overreaction is he's not good. What's actually funny is if you go to rest of season points, the projection for Jalen Milroe is higher than Jackson Dart. It's only like 38 points to like 27, but it is pretty funny to see that I'm not alone in this. It's like people think that this is possible. And it's rest of season versus week two projections.
So
Um,
38 for Milrow. Go ahead, Mitch.
Mine's pretty obvious. I
Yeah,
mean, do you know where the Jets defense finished last year?
I do
Do you know
not.
why? Do you know why Anthony Lynn was hired to be part of the head coach of that team and taken away from the Lions to build that defense? And someone went out there and threw. Well, the one that Jonathan Smith doesn't count, but he went out there and balled out. Like you guys are so lucky. I have Lamar. I mean, maybe not lucky, but if I didn't have Lamar Jackson or like a Josh Allen or a Burrow type, then I would 100% be having Rodgers on my fantasy team right now. I cannot believe he didn't get picked up in waivers. The like if you want to have a swing for the fence pick, like there's only so many QBs who've shown the propensity. Why does Herbert get picked up? Because of 1 year that he's had good, 1 year. Oh, Herbert could do it again. He had that 1 year. Well, guess who's had like 9 years of those type of stats, if not better. Like, if you want a track record, oh yeah, I'm gonna grab Herbert off waivers because he had one good game. He could be contending for league MVP again. Well, guess who's won 3 MVPs in the last 5 years, 6 years? So it's like this might be an overreaction, but Aaron Rodgers is gonna get some MVP votes this year.
I knew where this is going. That's why I went ahead and changed the sorting on this. A Rod and his 4 TDs week one. All right,
Uh,
all right. I mean, look, I thought about including him in one of my overreactions just for the lulz. I was like, no, Mitch is gonna do it anyway. All right. Well, you guys both went
I couldn't
quarterback.
resist.
You guys both went quarterback, so I'm gonna go quarterback with my week one overreaction as well. And mine has to do with passing yards. My overreaction is that Geno Smith of the Las Vegas Raiders will lead the league in passing. That's right. He was fourth last year, but he's on a new team with new offensive weapons. He had the second most passing yards week one against what is allegedly a decent defense. They have no offensive line, so they can't run the ball. He's got to pass. It's a Chip Kelly offense. They're known for being high-powered offenses. He's got 2 solid receivers in Brock Bowers, who allegedly he's injured, but he says he's fine. Jacoby Myers, who's been super solid ever since he became a Raider. And then you've got a couple of talented rookies out there. So I think Geno Smith will lead the league in passing yards.
Yeah, I actually don't hate
I don't
that.
hate that either. Is that bold?
I mean, I
Didn't
think
he
it's a,
lead the league in passing attempts last year, and he's got Chip Kelly this year? Like
right,
after
but
he plays the
he's on a new
Chargers,
team with entirely new system, new roster, new everything. Like, I'd say that's.
Yeah, no, I think that's bold. I don't think anybody else would say that.
Geno
I
Smith
like
after
it.
this week should
I
be
was gonna
picked
make the
up.
prediction with Justin Herbert, and then I saw Geno. I was like, I gotta go with my Raiders. I gotta do it.
No, he looked. I mean, that
Yeah, no, I
you guys looked real good. That's not a light defense with Vrabel on that side now. Like that's not light work. Like that was pretty impressive. I watched that replay too, and because I was so interested in I told you guys in the podcast before Chip Kelly offense, so interested, blah 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 blah. So I watched that one, and I'm like, everything I saw looked promising, especially for fantasy football. After the Chargers, I
I
think
don't
Geno.
mind.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, after the Chargers, I think Geno's might not have the greatest week this week, 19 again. But after that, I feel like, you know, people who have Caleb Williams and Dak on their team should strongly can be considering Geno and Rodgers.
I mean, if you have Caleb Williams on your team, something's wrong with you.
And Dak's your starter.
We're in the middle of a
You know,
segment,
the
but I'll
worst
go off on
part
him
is
later. I forgot to
if
go off on him.
the worst part is if I start Caleb Williams, I win my matchup. So
I'm just
that's a
kidding. Yeah,
dagger.
I'm also kidding. Dak and Caleb. I mean, maybe not Caleb because it's so hard just for what I see and how he's played. But like, it's so weird too because like on it was Mark Sanchez on the podcast I was listening to. He was saying like some of the throws Caleb's makes are so perfect, and then 10 or 12 of the throws are just complete misses. So I don't know how to feel about Caleb. So I was just kind of joking. You might get
Yeah,
fantasy
no, I mean,
good of him.
I don't love Caleb Williams. I bought into his second year in a Ben Johnson, and then he's with Ben Johnson with a ton of weapons. So I was like, if you're going to draft a backup, do you not want somebody with crazy upside? And I think he had crazy upside. So, but he
Yeah.
looked
No.
terrible,
Yeah.
objectively terrible.
I'm just yeah. You're not allowed to pick up Rodgers, by the way. You got to let that go some
Uh,
more
Well,
fully.
no one did. No
can
one
I
picked him up.
Alex,
can I keep?
riddle me this real quick. Sorry, Benny, then you can go. Sorry, Benny, if Rodgers does another just even decent week this upcoming week, you know he's gonna fly off waivers next week. Even if it's like if he comes back and he looks like Rodgers of the last year or two, then he'll stay on waivers. But remember, Darnold stayed on waivers for how long last year? So we'll see. Sorry, Benny, what were you saying?
I just wanted to segue an overreaction from one Raider to another Raider,
Go for it.
if that's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Senti?
We got
Okay.
everywhere to go.
I think this time next year, we're going to be looking back thinking, how did Ashton Jeanty get drafted in the first round of fantasy? I think he's going to become the Josh Jacobs of old. And then somebody's going to draft him 3 years from now and be like, oh my God, he was so good. He had 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. But every year after that, you're going to be like, oh yeah, he's a solid number two. Um, so, it's just one of those things where I'm just not a fan. I'm not necessarily not a fan of Ginty. I just don't think the Raiders' offensive line is very good, and he's going to have that 3.4 yards per carry workhorse type role that you're going to be like, yeah, he's a good RB2, but he's not the RB1.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but to me, it's a volume play, right? Like I mentioned earlier, like, yeah, he only had 38 yards rushing, but he had it on 19 carries. This is a guy they're going to, even when he's getting 0 yards per carry, he's going to get the ball. And as long as you're getting the ball, you only have to break one, right? You only have to fall into the end zone once. You only have to break one long run. So that's why I think he's still going to work out. I mean, yeah, maybe not as high as he was drafted, but I still think he's going to work out. All right, Mitch, what about you? What's your second overreaction? Then you had to step away for a second.
Um, Tyler Warren is going to be a top three fantasy tight end. I don't
Tyler
know if that's an
Warren?
overreaction or,
No, I
but
mean, for
he
sure.
looked so good in that game, and
He
like
did.
Daniel Jones was only throwing it to him. Um, wait, another over. Yeah, so I'm not sure how well the Colts are going to do, so I didn't want to make an overreaction on
Well,
Daniel Jones, so I just kind of made it about Tyler Warren.
okay. Yeah, I know.
I
I
think
mean, Tyler Warren
Tyler
looks
Warren looked,
solid for sure.
yeah.
And I mean, when you look
Um,
at the guys above him, you've got look, Brock Bowers is hurt now. Again, he said he is fine and that he's going to play, but anytime you see a plus sign, you're worried. Kittle is on the IR. Kelsey did not look good. He had a long touchdown, right? Like he had like a 40-yard touchdown, which is where he got all those points from. But outside of that, he did not look good. Dalton Kincaid, this isn't who he is anymore, right? Like he had a TD, but like that's not who he is. Hasn't been for a while. I don't think anyone expects Noah Fant to keep doing well. Zach Ertz might get some TDs, but yeah, I mean, there's a real world where he passes the guys above him. Pretty much everyone above him, except for one person, has a tight end, except for Bowers. Everyone above him except Bowers has a touchdown, right? He didn't have one. So, from a yardage production standpoint, he outshined these guys. So we'll see. All right.
Also, okay, I'll
Okay.
give.
Well, I was
Yeah,
gonna
no,
go
I
with
mean,
don't give me another one yet. I'm gonna give one of mine next.
okay, go for it.
All right. So my next one. Well, unfortunately, he's gonna miss this, but my next overreaction is gonna be Derrick Henry becomes the first player in NFL history with multiple 2,000-yard rushing seasons. I want to refer you to a fun stat. Derrick Henry has played 9 years in the NFL. He's made 5 Pro Bowls, and he's had multiple years of close to 2,000 yards or 2,000 yards. In his 9 years in the league, he has 11,423 yards. In high school, in 4 years, he had 12,124. This guy's been an absolute monster since day one. Since somebody put a ball in his hands, he's been an absolute monster. And now he's playing on a team, the Ravens, where they can't stack the box against him. We saw last year how good he did on that team, and look how good he did week 1. Like, yeah, everyone remembers that costly fumble, but that costly fumble came after he had 100 million rushing yards. If we go to the running backs here and go sort of at yardage, well, we don't even have to, we can just do it by points. 169 yards on 18 totes, 9.4 yards a carry. Dude was an absolute monster. And the Ravens defense, once again, isn't as good as people thought they'd be. I get that they were playing the Bills, but still, I don't think the Ravens defense is going to be as good as the team hopes they're going to be. So they're going to be having to go out there and score. And as long as you're having to score, they'll keep giving him the ball instead of the backup. Zay Flowers look legit, which means they can't stack the box. Zay Flowers led the league in receiving yards this week with 143, a Ravens receiver. And, of course, there's always the threat of Lamar Jackson who can run. So I really feel like because they can't stack it against him, because he's on a high-powered offense with a good coach, I think he's going to be the first player ever to have multiple 2,000-yard seasons because he's done it once before and he does it this year.
Yeah, that's a good one. Some of these like overreactions are also that I'm realizing I'm just kind of agreeing with and stuff like that. It's tough to like make them overreactions. Maybe I'm just overreacting too much for week 1. It's like, well, how did you feel about JJ McCarthy's week 1 the Monday night game?
I thought it was bad. I think people are overreacting to the fourth quarter.
See, I think it's opposite. I think people might be overreacting the first 3 quarters, and they ran the ball a ton, and I don't know how much they let him throw for those first couple. So yeah, I don't know. That's why it's interesting. Like a lot of these. What about the Patriots? There was so much hype around them. How do you feel about Drake May? Overreaction or under? Or he's
I don't
kind of just the
understand the
same?
hype around Drake May at all. I've never understood it. And here I'll give you a perfect example, right? So like if you go to wide receivers and free agents in our league, you know who no one cared to pick up? Kayshon Boutte. 8 targets, 6 catches, 103 yards. He was the most targeted receiver on the Patriots. If Drake May is going to be great this year, how come no one wants Kayshon Boutte their number 1 wide receiver? Right? You can't be great and have no good wide receivers. So if Drake May is going to be great this year, if he's going to take that big step forward, how come no one in a 12-team league wants his top wideout? So that's my argument against Drake May.
Another one I can't make up my mind either is like, what's the overreaction that the Jets are going to have a top elite offense where they can put 40 or how many ever points they did on a Steelers elite defense or you know what I mean? Or is that just like a week 1 overreaction where like that's the anomaly? The Jets are going to go back to being, they're 17 points a week and not really have a high flying offense. So it's like, I don't know which one's, or is the Steelers defense just that bad this year and they're not as good as they should be? Because it's like,
Well, this
so I don't know
this whole segment
which
is
one do you
you're
think is
supposed to give me
real.
an overreaction, not ask me to speculate on things.
Okay, then the overreaction is that the Jets are good, a good offensive team this year. That's my overreaction then. Sorry.
So
I
you
do not. I do not know where that came from. I think in 8 weeks from now, we're going to look back on week 1 and be like, "How the heck did the Jets score that many points on the Steelers defense?" But I could. I mean, obviously, I could be wrong.
All right, fair enough.
Uh,
My final overreaction then is whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Sorry. My final overreaction is going to be the Browns will make a playoff run. Joe Flacco played well. Yes, he had 2 interceptions, but for those who watched the game, both of those interceptions were balls that hit his receiver in the hands that were nowhere near defensive backs, and his receiver popped them up in the air for defensive backs to pick them off. So if you don't count those, because neither of those were his fault, then he ends up with a stat line of 31 completions for 290 yards and a touchdown. And they would have run that game, even with those 2 picks, if their kicker had missed both an extra point and a field goal against a Bengals team that's supposed to be one of the best offenses in football, and their defense is shutting them down to 7 yards. So they've got a premier defense. They've got a guy who can throw the football. They have a decent young receiving core. Yes, I just blame them for their picks because those were their faults, but they're only going to get better. They've got a rookie tight end that you just picked up off waivers, who is a guy who set pretty much every college record for tight ends with Fannin. They have Njoku, who's a solid player. They have Judy and Tillman, who've both come on lately. I think the Browns are a sneaky good football team, and they might make a run at the playoffs this year, and people aren't going to see it coming.
Wait, who picked them up?
Didn't you pick up their tight end?
Oh, I picked up your Jonnu Smith.
Oh, you
Who's
picked,
gonna be
no, right, you
now
picked
my
up Jonnu
Jonnu
Smith. Never mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was considering him though, but I wasn't sure who. And then I think Matt picked up two tight ends. The pits that I dropped for Ramsey so I could beat Austin. Thankfully,
And
I
Hunter
did that.
Henry, yeah.
Otherwise, and then Hunter Henry. Yeah.
I think he was trying to stop me from getting a tight end because that's the kind of thing Matt might do. I mean, he might have needed one. I don't know, but I still got a tight end too. So
Hey, I'm just saying, if I was in Vinny's division, I'd be looking to pick up a QB, not to let Vinny have him next week. Um, no, I was just kidding to see if he's there. I can't take shots at him while he's gone. But yeah, no, that's a good one. They should have lost that for sure. That missed kick, and it's like you can't expect, you know what I mean? You have to win these games, not hope the other team loses it. The other, the last overreaction, I didn't mean, I kind of turned it into like asking your opinion, but the overreaction on the Lions. Can the Lions be good without both coordinators? I'm not sure they can, and that's an overreaction probably because they're probably going to end up being a playoff team and even probably you know what I mean compete for the NFC Championship. But that seems more likely with. I mean, they have a lot of talent, so it's probably an overreaction. But I feel like this is why I stayed away from all the Lions and Bears players this year. Is I'm just not sure how it's going to go. So are the Lions just played a really good NFC Championship team in the Packers week one, or what do you think? Is that an overreaction, or do you think they're fine?
I think it's going to be I don't think they're going to be as good as last year because that was just a magical year last year. Yes, they lost both their coordinators. That's going to hurt them a little bit. But also, it's just even if they had the same two coordinators, the same center, everything the same, you're still not going to repeat last season because last season was magical for the Lions. They also, as I mentioned before, they played all but 2 games in a dome. And when you play in a dome as your home games and all your away games are also in domes, you're very comfortable. You don't have to deal with the elements. There's a lot of stuff that broke their way last year that's not going to break their way this year. I still think they're going to be a good football team, so I think week 1 was more of an abomination than anything. The Packers have one of the best defenses in football last year, and they only got better by going out and adding a premier pass rusher to Micah Parsons.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm not, like I said, a lot of these overreactions ones I was thinking and prepping, but I was like, I don't really have an opinion on yet, so I don't know what to pick. But yeah. Um, trying to look at my notes right now. That's all I had. Sorry.
All right. Well, unfortunately, Vinny's not back to give the remainder of his opinions. So I guess what we can do then is we can move on to the podcast team that we drafted together. So for those who remember, we did draft a podcast team. We did draft a podcast team together. But the question is, how did it do? So let's go ahead and check it out. We didn't win. Not great, but we had some of the guys that we were concerned about. Joe Burrow, but you and I both said we don't have regrets about Burrow. He'll bounce back.
Oh, Higgins killed this.
That applies to, well, I mean, look, he's Joe Burrow's wide receiver, right? So when Joe Burrow has a bad game, so is Higgins. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot there. Amon-Ra, I think he'll have a better game. Like I said, I think Detroit will be better. I think my biggest concern for our team, I think we have no tight end. I was not big on Hawkinson from the start. I don't think the Vikings quarterback situation is very good. Even if they do find a way to do well with him running or something, it's not going to involve him being a passing threat with too many mouths to feed in that offense. So yeah, and then Pacheco we talked about, but we do have some good news on our bench. We had Keenan Allen who popped off. I think Keenan Allen could be a legit player this year in fantasy. And then Travis Etienne. Tank Bigsby has now been traded. He's no longer on our team. This is what our team looked like last week. Tank Bigsby's been traded, so now we have Travis Etienne that we can slot into into that slot. So that's how we did last week. Let's take a look at what our team looks like now because we have made a couple of
I mean,
waiver
we only
moves.
basically lost to Lamar and Zay Flowers on the other on our opponent, but whatever.
Yeah, so we made a couple of waiver changes here. We went ahead and we did drop J.J. McCarthy, picked up Hollywood Brown off waivers. We also picked up a tight end in Jawan Johnson, dropping Tank Bigsby now that he is nothing more than a second or third string running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. So while I've got you here, Mitch, let's go ahead and take a look at our lineup then. Do we give Hawkinson another go, or do we go with Jawan Johnson, who had 11 targets last week at the tight end spot?
This without I think because they're playing the Niners, I think this is my yeah, I think we go John Johnson.
All right.
Hawkinson has to probably prove his way back on. I'm not saying
That's how I feel too. I would rather roll the
yeah,
dice on a guy who is the top targeted player in his offense
correct.
than go with a guy who was not
Look, it's
targeted much
happened
at
in
all.
my DoD league. I'm doing the same thing with Andrews. Andrews is going to have to work his way back onto my team over the next couple of weeks, or he's going to be a free agent.
For
So it's
sure.
the same way. So it's I would rather, yeah, exactly what said. And then you have the upside, especially in a PPR league where our league's not. And you also went Juwan Johnson in the DoD league, so you put your money where your mouth
I'm
is.
actually
And then yeah,
money where my mouth
sorry,
is. I'll go ahead and tell you, Mitch. I'm in 5 fantasy leagues. You want to know how many leagues I picked up Jawan Johnson in?
all of them.
All 5 of them.
Yeah,
Now I'm not starting him in all of them. One of them I had Brock Bowers. It's a dynasty league, so I just stashed him on the bench. But
yeah.
in most of them, I am starting him. And then the other question I have for you is, who do we want to roll with in our flex? Now that
ETN.
I went with Keenan originally, but now we have picked up Hollywood Brown. So we want to go with Hollywood Brown or Keenan Allen in our flex spot. I mean,
Wait,
obviously
are we
there are
starting?
other
Why
options, but
not?
I don't really want to go with Pacheco or really till they show us something because they didn't do well. There's also the Etienne
uh,
option as well.
Yeah, I think Etienne is my pick for now.
I mean, keep in mind this is a PPR league, so you still think it's Etienne over the other guys?
The Jacksonville Liam Cohen offense throws to their running backs top five. They did last year with the Bucks. Bucky Irvin was like second most running backs retargeted or whatever. How many did he have week one?
He had 3 targets
Three?
week one.
Yeah, that's
Hollywood
not as
Brown
good
had
as I wanted.
16, and
Okay, so that's half point PPR, 8 points. I don't know if Ridley can make that up. I mean, Etienne can make that up. Um,
yeah, 10 grabs for
this is
99
tough.
yards.
That's five free fantasy points right there.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
obviously we don't think he's going to necessarily get 16, but also like, look,
he might.
Xavier
He
Worthy
might.
Xavier Worthy has a what is it? A dislocated shoulder or something? A shoulder, it's something. He didn't practice today. Even if he does play, he's going to be in a brace. He's not going to be at 100%. Um, so I think definitely there's value in Hollywood Brown. But again, this is a guy that no one came into the season wanting, which is why he's on waivers in most leagues. I think he was
Yeah.
available in, I think 50% of fantasy leagues. Um, but yeah, no, I mean
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
fine with Etienne. Don't get me wrong. I'm no beef with Etienne, but I think
Just
look,
for
we've got options, which is always a good thing to have. But I think it comes down to Brown, Allen, or Etienne. Who do we trust the most?
As of right now, it's between Brown and Etienne for me, but I'd wait to hear Vinny's opinion. And honestly, if I get outvoted on this one, I don't really care. And back to the original thing about Juwan Johnson, Alex and our DoD league, I would have gone Juwan Johnson over Jonnu Smith, but I was worried about an eventual QB change in New Orleans, and I didn't know how that would affect Juwan Johnson, as opposed to I don't think the Steelers are going to bench Rodgers if he does bad. They're just going to ride him out type of thing. So that was my only deciding reason on why I went Jonnu Smith over Johnson.
Fair
Oh, and
enough.
we don't have PPR in our league. Sorry, but yeah,
Yeah, our
yeah.
league's very different.
A 33% start rate for ETN means a lot of people haven't gone to set their lineup this week yet, right? Because that's a
Well, I
little.
mean,
I feel
I
like
hadn't changed it because I was waiting to do it on the pod, right? But yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but
It's ETN or Brown. We can. I don't want to keep thinking on air, so we'll wait.
fair enough. Well, then I guess the next thing we want to take a look at then is who's available on waivers. Is there anyone you see that you want for our team, or if not for our team, is there anyone you see on waivers that you would tell someone, hey, go get it, they're available in your league? So we're just going to go through here and take a look. We'll show our team as well as what's available, so you can see what's available in this league. Do you think there's any worth in going after a guy like Justin Fields or Daniel Jones after what they did week one, for us or for any other players who are playing at home?
I think Jordan Love and Penix are are two guys that I would consider if I was in QB trouble. Obviously, my biasness towards Rodgers, but Love and Penix will get the rushing yards, not as many as Fields, but they have such a better ability to pass. Justin Fields needs good play calls for his ability to pass. He's not like throwing people open as the coordinators say. Love. See, he can throw. Love will get some rushing yards, rushing TDs, and so could Penix. But at the same time, they probably have the better ability to put up the passing numbers than Fields will. So on this list, if I was hurting for a QB, or say there's an injury, heaven forbid, an injury to anyone's QB next week, I feel like those would be two or three of the guys I would massively consider, and at least maybe even roster where your QB is important, like our DoD league. Like, a lot of people are holding two QBs right now, anyways, in our league. Not, you know what I mean? This could be one of those guys.
Yeah,
Guess who's back?
oh boo. Well, the podcast just
Just
got
in time to hear the
infinitely
analysis of what
worse.
QBs you should pick up.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Justin
That's
Fields all
interesting.
day. I am riding
That,
Justin Fields in multiple leagues. And listen,
oh
you cannot, if there's
gosh.
one thing that, no, if there's one thing that you cannot account for in fantasy football, it is
Rushing.
rushing quarterbacks.
Then how do you
And
not
I'm
look at
sorry.
Jordan
I
Love
was
and
just about to say,
Penix?
if you're in a 4 point passing TD league, I think there's a lot more value in Fields than these other guys. Whereas if you're in a 6 point passing TD league, there's less value in
Okay, how many
Fields.
rushing TDs is Fields getting on the year? Give me an over under.
It, it's not necessarily, so I think an over-under would be 10. It's not absurd to think that he gets one every other game. Every once in a while
No,
he
that's
has
not absurd
two.
at all. I'm on board with that video. As long as we're on the same page there. What do you think the over-under rushing touchdowns that Penix and or Love will have?
Love
Five.
is not a rushing quarterback. I think historically speaking,
But he
I don't think
can.
you're going to
He
see more
can.
than
He's
like
like a
two.
okay, two, really. Okay. See, I'm saying if Love or
And
Penix can
Penix
hit,
is a pure pocket quarterback. He is not running the ball.
he ran the ball like 7 times on the goal line last weekend or whatever, and I think he did have a rushing TD
He
last weekend,
did.
right? He did, yeah. So I'm just saying if those two guys can hit 5-7, they're gonna massively outpass Justin Fields' passing touchdowns. That would be my only argument. And here, Vinny, let's bring this up to you. Week one overreaction. The Jets, the Jets offense, or actually forget the overreaction thing. What do you think is more likely? The Steelers defense is that bad, or the Jets offense is that good?
Oh, I hate that question.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
what I've been debating.
I actually have an alternative answer. I didn't answer you before, Mitch. If I'll let you think, Finney, if you don't
Please
mind.
go both.
Mitch asked this earlier. I didn't answer because it's during the overreaction section. It bothered me that he always tries to do this and usurp my section, my
Listen,
my sections. But I
I'm
think
sorry.
I think neither team is as good on offense as they showed. Keep in mind, both those quarterbacks are from the other team. Aaron Rodgers spent the last year playing against the Jets defense in practice. He knows that team. Yes, they have a new defensive coordinator, but you know the players, and certain players can only do certain things regardless of the scheme. Justin Fields spent the last year practicing against, well, half the year on the first team, second half of the year, the second team, Steelers defense. These are two teams that know, these are two quarterbacks that know the opposition very, very well, so they were well prepared for them. Yes, you could also make the argument that defense is more prepared for the offense, and that is true, but when you're a quarterback, you're considered to be one of the smartest guys on the field, or at least you're supposed to be. If you know what the defense does well, you know what their looks look like, you know what their schemes look like, you're going to have an advantage. I'm not saying that I think either team is going to be bad. I think they both looked really good and they're going to be good. But I think some of the success can be attributed to they knew the opposition so well from the inside out.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that actually is a fair point. Um, I just don't think you hang 32 points on the Steelers with relative ease and
For
you're
sure.
not good. And maybe it's a re here's the problem is like if you ask me this in week five, it's for sure the Jets are good, even if they were slumping the first 4 weeks. It's so hard to put, and I know we've done Don't Panic or Instant Regret. Um, Don't Panic Yet or Instant Regret. Sorry, I didn't want to break the rhyme. But it's one of those things where
Wait
week
and see.
ones, two, and three, weeks one, two, and three are always so against the grain. There's
For
just
sure.
it's hard, but dude, the Jets look good. Their entire offense looked good. Their defense trash, but their offense looked so good.
And
So
it's supposed to be the opposite, right?
it's that's even harder. Yeah. But back to the point. I mean, if Justin Fields can touch 900 rushing yards, dude, you can't take those 90 fantasy points away. What does that come out to? 3,600 passing yards?
Yeah, so 900, what's the average per game at 900? Uh, Calculator. He's got a
50?
rush for like 55,
50?
56, yeah. 50. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no one else is touching 1,000 except for maybe. Yeah, no one else is touching 1,000.
Besides like maybe Lamar.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but
I
I don't
mean,
even think that. I don't even think he will for
the,
sure.
All right. Well,
I think what leads me towards Fields, and this is not a Fields argument. If anything, this is like Anthony Richardson, as bad as he was still fantasy relevant because he could apparently run for 50 yards and a touchdown and get you 11 points. So if he didn't just completely bomb, if he ran for 50 yards and a touchdown and then threw for 100 and a touchdown, all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a good starting quarterback, and it's a terrible stat line.
well, yeah. Think
You
Right.
just
about
can't
Jalen
take
Hurts.
that away.
Jalen Hurts' first 2 years in the league. Again, I'm not talking about Jalen Hurts now. He's a good quarterback now. His first 2 years in the league, he was a bad quarterback but a great fantasy player, right? And there's a world where Justin Fields might end up being a bad quarterback, a great fantasy player, or if like he played yesterday, and even last year, before he got benched last year, Justin Fields was playing great. Like he got benched because the team wanted to go with Russ, and Russ was no longer hurt, so they went with Russ. But I think Justin Fields was playing great when he got pulled. Like great for Fields. Like he's never going to throw for 500 yards in a game or anything crazy, but I think he was playing well. Anyway, now that you're back, real quick, Vinny, I wanted to ask if you had any more overreactions. The one you missed, Mitch's overreaction with the Jets
I
offensive
heard your
shift.
Derrick Henry 2,000 yards, and I
Okay.
was seething on the
Did you hear
inside.
my third one?
I missed your third
Yeah,
one.
I wanted to hear the Henry one because like I know you wanted Henry, didn't follow you. My third one, Browns are gonna be a playoff team.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is a terrible take. That might be the
it's a
worst
great
thing that's
take.
ever.
For those who heard it, so Joe Flacco played great, 290 yards on 30 attempts. He did have the two picks, but they weren't his fault. If you watch the game, both those picks were deflections off his wide receivers' hands. He hit open receivers in the hands, and they screwed him. But they have a decent receiving core, even despite those two biffs. They have a fantastic defense. They absolutely shut the Bengals down, held the Bengals to 7 yards. So you're talking about a fantastic defense, arguably one of the best defenses in football. You've got a good young receiving core in Judy, Tillman, Fannin, and Njoku. You just signed your rookie running back, Judkins. Like, it's going to take him a couple weeks to get up to speed, but you just brought a rookie running back into the room. So I think they can be a sneaky playoff team. That was my third overreaction. So what is your third overreaction? We only got two from you before you had to go take your phone call. So what is your third
Yeah,
overreaction?
no, this is a little bit biased here, but from week one, there's one. I mean, look at the 49ers. There's one thing that you cannot fix, and that's injuries, that's the suspensions, that's the reshuffling of teams. The Kansas City Chiefs do not make the playoffs, is my week one overreaction. They don't
Whoa.
sneak into the wild card. They're in a very difficult division. They have a very difficult schedule.
They're the
So
only team that lost in their division week one. Broncos, Raiders,
they
and Chargers
are.
all won.
And this is not saying, oh, the Raiders are going to beat them twice. The Broncos are going to beat them twice. They've already lost once to the
As a Raider fan,
Chargers.
you
So
better
they're
say
already
that.
at a. Well, I mean, it's hard to believe it when the Raiders win 4 games a year, and just statistically speaking. So when you
Speaking of
look at the
Raiders,
Chiefs'
oh, go ahead, go
schedule,
ahead.
if there's carnage within the division, and let's say they lose three, let's say they get swept by the Chargers and then they lose one to the Broncos, or heaven forbid they lose one to the Raiders. All of a sudden, you're looking at 3 or 4 losses in the division, and that means that they need to sweep essentially outside the division, with a couple losses. I just don't know. I don't know if getting hit by this injury bug, plus the suspensions, plus a reshuffled offensive line. I don't, maybe they're if they can't score points. I mean, we can talk about Mahomes all day, but maybe this is their 2024 49ers year where they finished with 7 wins, 8 wins, and missed the playoffs.
That is definitely a bold take. I like it. Yeah, speaking of the Raiders wins, you'll notice the three people that picked the Raiders to win this week are the three people that did best in the Pick'em League. Vinny and I copied each other, apparently. And if not for the Ravens choking away a 16-point lead with less than 4 minutes left in the ball, we would have gone perfect, 16-0 in the week. But the Ravens choked it away and cost us. But, yeah,
Fun
big
fact,
the Vegas,
I actually I went ahead and put that in just using straight money line. So a money line bet is like if you take a favorite, they're at like a minus 400, so you're not going to get as much back. But I went ahead and put a 16-0 week in for a $5 bet would have won 20 grand. A $10 bet would have won 40 grand on a 16-0 week, just taking the money lines. So what's really funny is if it wasn't for that choke job, Alex, and we didn't have any money bet on it, but like that's how ridiculous of a bet it is, like how difficult it is to go 16 and 0, even just straight money line, it would have been a $5 bet to win $20,000 if we were right.
And ironically, the difference between us and Break is he picked Kansas City, and you were now the only one that took the Chargers. We were the only two that believed in the Chargers over the Chiefs, and obviously two of the only three that believed in our Raiders over the.
That's a great call and all, but it's a neutral field, and the Chiefs have gone 14-3, 11-6, and correct me if I'm wrong, they lost one game last year before benching all their players week 17. So they have a total of 9 losses in 3 years. That's crazy. 10 if you include the last week of the season. That's wild. And you guys picked the Chargers against the Chiefs. Like literally, you could just pick the Chiefs for the whole season, and you're going to statistically do better than if you pick against them, picking and choosing the weeks that they're going to lose.
So I just want to read really quick. The Chiefs' non-divisional games are versus the Eagles, at the Giants, versus the Ravens, at the Jaguars, versus the Lions, versus Commanders, at Bills, versus Colts, at Cowboys, versus Texans, at Titans. So like they play three of the best teams, no, the four top teams in the league aside from the Chiefs, they play. They play the Eagles, the Ravens, the Lions, and the Bills. The four best teams from last year, aside from the Chiefs, they play this year. I don't
So,
think it's ridiculous to think that they lose 8 games.
oh my, 8? That's tough.
Listen, it's my week 1 overreaction, but
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah. I forgot. Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to see if there's a
No,
way
that's good.
to see the Chiefs
I,
schedule.
I'll be honest, Vinny. I forgot we were back into the week one overreaction. Sorry.
Yeah, we had to go back in time for Vinny. Our apologies to the
My bad. My
podcast
bad.
viewers. Yeah,
I thought for a second it was like, I was like, this is a little, oh
Oh, here we go.
wow.
Here's their schedule over here. So yeah, so their next game, Eagles at the Eagles. The last time they played, the Eagles dumpstered them. At the Giants, it's probably a win. At the
They
Ravens, the
probably
Ravens could win that.
win.
That's a loss. The Raiders is a loss. Uh, this could be a loss. That could be a loss. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of games that I can be like, hey, they lose that game. Now, maybe not everyone would have given this as a
especially, I mean,
loss,
listen, this is nothing against their team, but like they're not healthy. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
true.
but they
and
lost
their offensive
one
line is
game.
not as strong as it was last year.
Oh, I mean, without Thuney, for sure, it's non-debatable. But the tackle situations have gotten better, so yeah. But they've had
I
the
mean, yeah,
three
that's
best.
my
Sorry.
no, I was gonna say that. I mean, that should all be our concerns with the Lions too. Like their interior offensive line is completely gone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really tough to replace. Like these are, I'm starting to think more and more that there's a lot of bust potential when you look at the reshuffling of offensive lines and coaches and injuries, obviously. But still,
I've been preaching,
I don't know.
yeah. I've been preaching the, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with that statement. The lines and the coordinators, huge. If you like, I would love to know. I know Miles Sanders had a year a couple years ago, and like DeAndre Swift had it, but I would just love to see in a parallel universe, like just some Tayshaun Buddle or some Jadon Blue or just someone in the 6th round or something, whatever. Just some nobody. Just run all year behind that Eagles offensive line and see what if they can just do like 1,400 yards.
You
So
might get
I
it if Saquon goes down. You might get to see what Tank Bigsby can do behind the Eagles' offensive line.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to curse. I love Barkley, so I didn't want to curse him or anything. I'm sorry, Barkley. But yeah, it's just like the offensive line is huge. Like last night, the reason they got Thuney for the Bears or whatever was to eliminate that up the middle pressure, so could be able to like have a clean pocket. And they just got destroyed up the middle all night. So it's like. It's tough. Yeah, you got to have like three guys in
Yeah, they
tandem
did.
working to. Yeah, so three guys working in I don't know. They're working in tandem together, not maybe just one good guy. So yeah, it's tough. I think Alex also called them losing Ragno and the center was also a massive setback for you can see
Yeah, I mean that's a Pro Bowl
the
center, right? And only what is it? I
yeah.
think I think six centers make the Pro Bowl, three on each side. So you're talking
It's
about
also interesting.
the top
Yeah.
six center in the league. Sorry, go ahead.
It's no, it's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's also fascinating to me that a team like the Eagles, because of how dominant their whole line as a whole, they've been able to rotate the center position for the last 2 years or whatever. Well, in the game or whatever. It's been between Jurgens or Steen or whatever, and they just keep rotating in the center, whichever they need, guard and center. And they have like so it's just and then you look at the Lions offensive lines, they look lost without Ragno. So it's tough. It's real tough. The coordinators in line, yeah. It's
I
real
will
tough.
say that that's one of the reasons I'm not as concerned about the Lions is because they did lose a Pro Bowl center. It takes time to
Yes.
adjust to your new setup. And when you start week one in a rivalry game, a team that knows you very well, a team that you played against twice last year, a defense that now has Micah Parsons, so an amazing like arguably the best D line in football. Like when you have to go up against that your first game with a new center, that's going to be rough, right? Like there's going to be a learning curve, but I think a few weeks from now you're going to see a very different Lions offense, which is why I'm less concerned about the Lions than I am about maybe some other teams that struggled week one. The Texans, for example. The Texans, I think, are going to suck.
Yeah, and I think you also said it best. It's compared to last year was such a good year that it's like hard not to be like they'd have a regression. But even a regression from last year still means they're a playoff team, maybe win a playoff game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
All right, boys. Well, I think that's all the prepared content I had today. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you guys wanted to talk about? I mean, we can continue going through the waiver options. I think it'd be a good idea for people to take a look at. So we can go over free agent options. But is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we go through the rest of these free agents?
No, I just
No, but if there is time left, I would love to, uh, if you guys were interested, read you how bad my guillotine draft was.
um I
Go.
will. I was interested in more, but I have to go right now, actually. But
Oh, okay.
I was more interested in like how you guys feel about some of our individual fantasy teams. Like, well, I know we had those week one predictions, and we like teams and not like teams, and like I know a lot of us weren't really big on Luis's team, and they won. So I'd be interested to know your guys' opinions on if you're doubling down and it's just week one, or if you have different thoughts about some of these teams. But unfortunately, I don't know why work scheduled Tuesday and Wednesday, but I'm gonna have to go. Traffic is just so bad. I don't even know how to, I don't know how to deal with it. I just sit there and I just kind of go crazy.
No, it's all good.
You know what? There's
So
a really good podcast that drops every Wednesday night that you could go back and listen to.
Yeah, for sure.
that's, you know what's sad is I do listen to our podcast while
Why
I'm
is that
stuck in
sad? We need the views, man. We need the views.
It's so bad. I'm like, I already know what's said and done and heard, and I'm still listening to this in the car on the way to work.
I
It's pretty
actually
bad.
introduced a couple of people to our podcast recently, and I had to give them a big caveat that a lot of it has to do with our like during the year it's about sports in general and things, which can be very entertaining. During the actual football season, though, there's gonna be a lot about our specific league. But they listened to an episode and they told me they really liked it, and they're like, "Yeah, can I come on as a guest?" I was like, "I mean, I guess I don't know what we're gonna talk about, but yeah." So I mean, you'd be surprised. People that actually listen to this kind of enjoy it. So hopefully, people that are enjoying it. But yeah, Mitch, you gotta take off. It's all good. But yeah, sure. Vinny and I can talk about the teams how we feel about the teams real quick. So going through, me personally, I'm happy with my team. The one concern I have with my team, I think, is that I'm gonna have to figure out which wide receivers and running backs to start. I mean, obviously, I'm starting Josh Jacobs, but Hampton and Krosky and Williams, all three played well week one. So which one do I go with? Wide receivers, McConkey, Neighbors, Myers, Pearsall all played well. Which one do I go with? So to me, it's just figuring out which ones. But I really like my team. Sylvie's team, I mean, assuming Justin Fields is as good as he is, I think her team could be really good. My big concern with her team, which I talked about her about, I think, is A-Chain. Yeah, he had 13 fantasy points, and that looks good, but you have to keep in mind that he did that with a touchdown. He had 7 carries. 7. And Miami just got lambasted by the Colts, so maybe that was game script, but we'll see what happens. What about you, Vin? Any thoughts on these two teams? Any higher or lower on them
No,
after
you know
2
what?
weeks?
No, I mean, I liked your team coming out of the draft. I think hitting on those running backs is big, right? You want it, I think it's funny is you're sitting there saying, "Oh, it's gonna be hard to decide." I think you have to kind of ride with your studs until a Terry McLaurin comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden is like, "Wow, I have to start him every week." Or Brian Thomas from last year is like, "Oh crap, I have to start him every week." It's really hard to be the guy that starts Javonte Williams over Hampton week 2, or to be the guy that starts
Well, it's more JCM,
Jacoby
right?
Myers or Pearsall over.
It's like Hampton and JCM. These are both rookies who are first year starters, right? So like, which one do I roll with?
Right.
JCM was more productive week 1, but Hampton got more touches, right? So that's a difficult decision for me. Myers is, like I said, I think Geno Smith may lead the league in passing. So am I really going to sit Jacoby Myers versus Slad McConkey, who might be in a full blown committee at receiver? Not that that's really a word, but just like, is Justin, is Justin Herbert going to throw for over 300 yards every week? Because like that's a lot of mouths to feed. If Quentin Johnson's is actually getting work, and we saw Keenan Allen getting work, and we saw Ladd getting work, like somebody's going to have to lose production.
I completely agree. Sylvie's team is going to be that team that you don't want to play any week because she's either going to score 120 or she's going to score 70. And you're going to be, law of averages, or for whatever reason, you're always stuck playing her the week that she scores 120. You luckily got the week 70, the 70-point week. But I like Sylvie's team. It's very like Mike Evans he's solid, but he's a boomer bust guy. Like Connor, if he doesn't get a touchdown, he's not that good. Like he's a high volume touchdown guy. So like Cardinals have to be good. Yeah, I think maybe this is more like the Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels situation from last year. Do you start Stroud or Fields? Like if you're playing that roulette and you guess the wrong weeks, you'd almost be better off just kind of riding one guy, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but Sylvie, if you
she's
listen
the
to this
top
week's
scorer
pod,
this week.
I would love Justin Fields. So
well, I don't think she's trading him after what happened week one. If she had started Fields week one, she would not just beat me; she would have been the high scorer on the week. So. All right, let's move on.
So here's to rooting for a week 2 bad week.
Bears and spark plugs coming out of the draft. I think we weren't as high on Chris as other teams, but I remember me specifically. I said I felt there was a lot of potential with this team. I felt like this is one of those teams that could blow up, but I need to see it because I have some question marks. I think some of the question marks got answered. I think Marvin Harrison came out and had a good game, so I feel a lot better about him. Whereas other question marks scare me. Brian Thomas Jr. did not have a good game at all. Like, yeah, he got 7 fantasy points because he had a 9-yard rushing touchdown. He only had 1 catch for 11 yards. He got outperformed by Travis Hunter, a guy who's playing on both sides of the ball. So that scares me for Chris's team. And then, like we talked about, Genty's a volume play. I like Genty still, but look, if the Raiders can't block, that's a scare. So I still like Chris's team. I think the word potential is still there. I think it's still yet to be seen how this team fully plays out, but I like the potential. I just don't think he's got a ton of depth on the bench, especially now that Waddle's hurt. So potential is the word I'll use.
I will say nothing's.
Go ahead.
I picked Chris's team to win the division. Nothing changed for me in week 1. What's interesting is if you listen to Liam Cohen's interview about getting Brian Thomas involved, he basically just absolutely trashes Trevor Lawrence the entire time without saying Trevor Lawrence. He's like, we tried to hit him on a screen on the first play of the game and the ball's thrown in the dirt, and then he was wide open on a corner route and he gets missed. And so it's an interesting interview, but I'm not worried. Just the fact that like guys like Kamara and Harrison and Kraft all put up 7 to 10 points, you're going to get Brian Thomas and JT and I mean, looking at this should not be 90 points, but it is because they all just did what they needed to do. And even Jaden Daniels, 21 points is not a huge week for him. I think it's going to be fine.
All right, moving on to Dad's team. My big concern here is I think Bo Nix is going to bounce back. He was a really good quarterback last year. I think he had a tough road matchup to start of the year. I think he'll recover. My big concern here is going to be Dad's running back too. He took Kenneth Walker and then Aaron Jones, which seemed like for sure he's going to have one RB2 out of the two of those guys, and neither of those guys were the RB1 on their team week 1. So that's my only concern with his team. I think the rest of the team looks solid. He's got 2 solid wide receivers. Even with Brown having a bad week, he had Zay Flowers on the bench. So, like, he's got 3 solid wide receivers. He's got Saquon, obviously. Tight end is fine. Kicker's number 1 kicker. Defense is good. So I think it's going to come down to, can he find that serviceable RB2, assuming Bo Nix bounce back. So I'm still happy with this team.
Yeah, it's still a good team. It just has a lot of question marks for me. I just wonder if they're all going to be able to perform week in and week out. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Bo did not have a great week. I think he'll be fine. But if Bo doesn't, I mean, even if Bo scores 20 points, he's still only at 76 this week. So,
yeah,
it's tough.
but you
I
have
see
to
his wide
imagine Amon-Ra
receivers
St.
as
Brown's
just
not going to get
flip-flopping.
4 points again, right? So.
Yeah, but I personally could see this very easily being Amon-Ra gets 12 and Sutton gets 4. Like that, he's sitting here looking at a 16 to 20 point average between wide receivers every week. So, yeah, I don't know. I it's a middle of the pack team for me right now.
All right, moving on to the next one. Mitch isn't here, so we can blast him. Man, this team sucks. No skill players at all. No, I'm just kidding. I think Higgins is going to bounce back. Taylor played fine. He just had both touchdown opportunities vultured by his quarterback. That does concern me. If anytime they get to the goal line, Daniel Jones is going to steal the touchdown, that definitely hurts Taylor's value. But there's also going to be plays where Taylor runs it in for the 7, and from the 7, not 4-7. So you're not worried about that. He mentioned that even though Harvey's not getting the touches, well, he's got Dobbins on the bench, so he's got their RB1 in there somewhere. Lamar's solid. I think McLaurin is going to recover. I think it's going to take him time to get up to speed. He held out. And then he did go and pick up a tight end. No, he didn't pick up a tight. Oh, no, yeah, he did. This is what his roster looked like before. I think he has since picked up a tight end to replace Andrew. So, yeah, I still like Mitch's team. I just think he had a bad week with his skill players. I think they'll be better later on.
You can score 83 points. You can score 83 points and win and get, 20 total points from your tight end, wide receivers, and running backs. Like, that's crazy. So, I don't know. I could look at one of Mitch's teams and absolutely hate it, but he'll be the first one to tell you that these are the teams that win championships, and he's right, once every 3 years. So, who am I to doubt it?
All right, and then moving right along to the Aussies, we came out of the draft loving this team. I know personally my one concern of the team was Drake May. I was not a big Drake May guy, but then I was like, well, you got the offensive backup, so as long as one of them hits after week 1. I am concerned about Pacheco now, but he did get Charbonnet, who, as we mentioned, seems to be the wide receiver or the running back 1 on his team. So he just needs one of those 2 guys to work out. I think Collins will recover. I think the Texans are going to be bad, but Collins is going to recover. Bauer's injury seems to be not serious, so I think I'm the same on this team as I was going out of the draft. I think it's a really good core, but I'm concerned about the quarterback. That's my only concern.
Yeah, it's still a really good team. I actually don't think that May played the best, and the Raiders' defense actually looked pretty good. I think May's upside is the 11 rushing yards is not what I would expect based on last year's performance. I think he actually runs the ball more than that on a typical basis. So it's one of those things where I think that's going to kind of normalize. Let me see, he didn't have a single start where he ran for 11 yards last year. Everything was more. He only had
Well, that's just how good our Raiders are,
games
Vin.
below 20.
You got to keep in mind he played against those Raiders are so good.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be one of those if you can just get a 3 more points from rushing and a rushing touchdown. I mean, now you're looking at 25 points for 16 on a bad day. So
All right, let's move on to Revis and Butthead. I think this is a team that coming out of the draft, you and I weren't super high on. Now that we've seen week 1, I like it better than I did. I think all of us were down on Breece Hall. Breece Hall balled out, 107 yards on 19 carries, a couple of receptions. So Breece Hall being a legit guy, we know Kyron Williams is legit. I don't think Josh Allen's going to score 42 every week, but Josh Allen is going to put up numbers every week. So solid top end. I think Kelsey is fine. Like, he didn't have a great game, even though he had the touchdown, but we'll see how he looks. But that team is decimated by injury, like you said. He's going to have to step up. I mean, quite frankly, Xavier Worthy is injured because he trucked him on that play. Kelsey ran into his own guy. That's why Worthy's injured. So I like this team better than I did. The big gaping hole for me is the wide receivers. I don't think he has good wide receivers, and he doesn't really have much on the bench except for Debo. I will say that Debo, I think, can be put in as a starting wide receiver for one of these 2, but he's going to need one of these 2 to show up. But I definitely think his team is better now than I did after the draft.
yeah, better. I'm going to be the hater then.
Well, I'm playing him this week, so I don't want to
I
be
think
too.
it's
I don't want to be a hater when I'm playing against the guy. You know what I'm saying? Bad karma.
Yeah, I'll still be the hater.
Cool.
It's hard. Top scorer from week 1 is still one of my least favorite teams. Allen has to play hero ball, and here's the thing: it's not that I don't think it's bad. He can score 90 every week, but man, that, like you said, that bench is brutal, and he has no backup running backs, so he's going to lose a couple weeks just on the bye weeks alone. God forbid there's an injury. I mean, and then who knows what you're getting with DJ Moore, Travis Kelce, and AJ Brown every week. Even though I like AJ Brown, yeah, I just can't see it sustaining for a whole season. So I'm just gonna have to sell.
All right, Matt's team. I think I am going to go the other way on this one, even though it's into my division. I don't want to like shoot myself in the foot, but I like this team less after week one. I mean, I still think Cook is a great player, but when you see how much that team had to do to win that football game, and Cook still barely, like if you take away that one massive reception, like, and again, I hate saying that, but like it's true. If you take away the 40-yard catch, then we're talking about a guy that only had 50 yards on the game, right? Like, so he had one big play, and now he has a hamstring injury, so we'll see how that plays out. He does have Cook's backup in his defense, so if Cook is out, he does have the starter. But if there's a world where Cook is hurt to the point that he's now splitting time, I think that hurts Matt's team. Swift is, look, he's on the Bears. The Bears suck. I do think Chase is going to be a lot better than he was week one. I think Pickens might be better than he was week one. But then Matt lost Kittle. Kittle's a big pick. I mean, you probably pick him like third or fourth round, potentially on pace to be tight end one, and now he's on IR for 4 weeks. And he also has Purdy, who's not going to play. So now he, instead of playing, deciding which quarterback to go with, he's got to go with Kyler, and he doesn't have much at all in the form of bench. So I think I like this team. Not that I don't like his team, but I like it less than I did coming out of the draft.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's another one. It's really hard to think again. You score 86 points, and what arguably was one of my favorite, if not favorite, wide receiver room in
Well,
the
it's just
league.
because of injuries, right? Like, it's not the big thing to me is the injuries. I think his wide receivers are both going to do better, but his RB1 is hurt, his tight end is hurt, his quarterback's hurt. Like, that's tough to lose 3 players week one. I mean, and I'm not saying Cook is lost, but you know how it is with a hamstring. That's always a sketchy situation, right? They could even start the game and then 3 plays in and be like, nope, I'm done. Like, Kittle's on IR now. If you watch the game, Kittle ran his route, did his play, and then just kind of looked to the sideline and shook his head and walked off the field. And then he just stood on the sideline the rest of the game. Didn't even get looked at by the trainer because he just knew.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's again, this is going to be one of those teams. I think it's very comparable to Sylvie's team. They're going to score 120 or they're going to score 70, and you don't want to play him the weeks that he scores 120, obviously. But Kyler's good for 30 if Cook is healthy. I mean, Swift is also going to have some big games in a Ben Johnson offense, and they did not give the ball to anybody else, regardless of what anybody said about possible rookies. So yeah, it's going to take a lot of things to hit to compete and to win the division, but um, it's wait and see. What is it? Not wait and see. That's Mitch's. Don't panic yet.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you're killing me. I'm gonna have to send you guys flashcards before the show from now on. All right, moving on. We'll talk about Team Phoenix. He's got the Dactus, got Chase Brown, CMC, Drake London, Wilson, McBride, Little, and Texans. How are we feeling about this team after week one? I will say that I like the team better after week one. I think Dak was playing lights out. He just didn't happen to get the touchdowns because Javonte Williams did. And then that stupid thunderstorm where they had to take an hour off really affected his play. The Bengals were abysmal, and Chase Brown still put up points. CMC was the only weapon they had, and now he's even more so the only weapon they have. Drake London being hurt hurts you, but Garrett Wilson being an actual stud helps you. We know McBride's going to be Deese. Cam Little's going to be Deese. Texans D's, whatever. And then on the bench, you now have Etienne as an RB1 because the other running back's no longer there. So I think your team... Oh, and Roma Dunze actually played decent, jokingly enough. I still think the Bears suck, but yeah, I think as long as London doesn't have a long-term injury, I like your team better than I did coming out of the draft, and I already liked your team a lot.
Yeah, I this was a very disappointing week. I actually didn't even put a waiver claim in because I don't want to drop any of these guys. I still am is not backing Caleb Williams as a backup quarterback, but I'm with you. Like just the fact I had a chance to win when Dak scored 7 points, which was this week on average, I think was like 14 points below the average, I think is what CBS said, the average like number one quarterback. So, you know, it's rough. But I do like it. I don't think there's anything I would change. I think ETN hitting was big for me. I think Olave only had 50 yards, but I also think he had an outrageous amount of targets, so he's kind of like bench people to fill in. And I think London practiced today, so I'm not terribly concerned by that. I don't love the fact he had 8 catches for 55 yards. I hope that he gets downfield a little bit more. But at least they were feeding him the rock. So yeah, you know what? 0-1 is it sucks, but I honestly I wouldn't change my team. There's nothing I want to change. The one thing is like I'm mad that Break took Puka a pick before me when I drafted London. That's literally the only regret I have with my team right now. I so yeah, I hope I compete, but you know, time will tell.
All right, moving on to the Yak of Lamb, your favorite team after week one. Um, yeah, I wasn't super high on Mahomes, but Mahomes did ball out week one. I got credit where credit's due. Henry balled out. Irving was fine. The whole Bucks team didn't look great, but I think they'll bounce back. Didn't like Hill and Metcalf before. Still don't like them after week one. Ingram got hurt. Bigsby's value is now in the tank. And if you just look at this bench, there's not much here in way of bench. So I think I'm kind of the same place where I was with Cam. Mahomes might be better than I thought he was going to be, but I still think Cam is hurting at wide receiver. And when you go and look at the registries on his bench, Godwin's not playing till at least week 5. Devonta Smith didn't look like he was anything special. So I'm going to say that I'm kind of the same place where I was. I'm not higher or lower. It's just, I didn't think it was that great coming out of the draft, and I still feel the same.
Yeah, how do you like you go 0-1, you lose to this team somewhat convincingly, and you're like, oh no, I'm better than they are. It's still not a team that scares me. What does scare me is like Henry putting up 30 points.
Yeah, I mean
And
this
then
is
if you
this is
have
a team
Mahomes,
that he might win. He might win 7 games because of the 7 games that Mahomes and Henry pop off. But he didn't have another player in double digits,
right?
right? Like he had his big 2 and nothing else. And I think there are going to be games where this grouping of these 3 players at the top are going to have 2 of them have monster games and he'll win. And there's going to be groupings of games where these 3 players have average games and he loses. I think he's going to really come down.
Yeah.
He needs hero ball out of these 3 guys.
No, completely agree. And I'm not sure if it's just game script, but Bucky Irving did worry me a little bit. Just I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about Bucky Irving and the Bucks right now. So
I mean, the one thing I'll say is that
I think
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I think he bounces back. I think it's just a week 1 overreaction. Just I mean, if at one point in time, if you looked at their stat line and their team stat line in the first half, you were like, this is a terrible football team. I think Baker was struggling. I mean, he only threw for 170. He's bailed out by the 3 touchdowns and some rushing yards. But like they just didn't look good against an Atlanta team that wasn't that good last year. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what we get
They
out of
didn't, but
Tampa.
they have a new offensive coordinator. It's their first game with a new offensive coordinator. It takes time. And the reason I'm not concerned about Bucky Irving is he had 18 touches to Rashad White's 3. So he's the guy, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're getting the ball 18 times a game, you're going to make something happen. And he's getting the ball a lot more times than like not just rushing. He also had more targets, more receptions. So it's not even like Rashad White, who's a great receiving back. No, Rashad White's not in there taking the receiving plays. Bucky Irving's getting all 3 downs.
And then when is Tristan Wirfs isn't out for season, is he?
Who?
I don't think so. Their Pro Bowl tackle. I don't know if he actually
I don't think
played
he's
or
out for
not.
season, but I know
don't
he's
think
out
he
for a little
did.
bit. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, time will tell with them. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to normalize. I mean, hell, Buka's a freaking star already. So
All right, and then lastly,
speaking of,
yeah, speaking of Team Dinosaurs, let's take a look. I think Burrow's going to bounce back. Hubbard played well. Ibuka was an absolute monster. I had some concerns about Jefferson when he drafted him. After watching how bad his quarterback was, I have some concerns about Jefferson still. Tyler Warren looked great. Mad props there. And as I mentioned, Jordan Mason was the leading ball carrier, which I like. He's got Keenan Allen, which I don't like how well Keenan Allen is doing, but I like how well he did for Miles. So I think Miles' team looks pretty solid. I think the only thing that I'm down on is his RB2. I didn't love what I saw out of Henderson week 1. I really liked this pick going into the draft. Only 5 carries in a game where they actually led a decent portion of the game is a concern, because it means that he wasn't the guy. He did have 6 targets and he caught them all, which is great, but this isn't a PPR league, so I am concerned about his RB2, because when you look at his backup RB2, it is Jordan Mason. So if Jordan Mason continues to be the guy and he slots that in, then sure, he's set. But I really, really like this team coming out of the draft, but part of the reason I really liked it is because I was pretty high on Henderson. Henderson not doing as well as I thought he would do gives me cause for concern, but overall I still love this team, and I thought Ibuka was going to be a beast, and he was. And I still hate that Miles hasn't.
Yeah. This team is still really good in my mind too. I think Henderson is one of those. I think there's rookie running backs that don't get the bulk of the work, like Hampton and Henderson early in the year, that come week 5. You're not worried about that anymore. It's just, can you win enough games beforehand to sustain that? But then there's other guys like Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, that you might be more concerned about when they don't have maybe the prospect grades that the other guys do, or Judkins, for example. I wouldn't be worried about Henderson. I think he'll be fine once they figure out how they're going to use him over the course of a season. And that's literally the only hole in this team. Everything else is very good.
Yeah, no, it's still, again, I'm still very big on his team. It's just that was the one thing that I'm less high on, was that one guy. All right, and then lastly, we're looking at break. Hurts, Gibbs, Pollard, Adams, Nakua Hawkinson, Gay and the Eagles. I think I'm lower on this team than I was before, and the reason being, one, I didn't like what I saw to Gibbs. 10 catches for 31 yards. That means, like, again, Green Bay's great, but, like, if you get 10 catches, you got to get more than 30 yards. Like, I feel like you're supposed to be that explosive back, and you weren't explosive. That concerns me. But also, look, you can't start 2 wide receivers on the same team. And we both kind of said, oh, well, it's okay because he's got Worthy. Well, now he doesn't have Worthy. He does have Keon Coleman, so if Keon Coleman can do this again, but it's hard to say he's going to repeat that when they had to score 50 points in the last 5 minutes. But, yeah, so I'm a little lower on this team than I was, I think, coming out of the draft. But I still think it's a decent team.
Yeah, I'm lower than it is out of the draft. I thought the Titans offense was very concerning. The Lions offense was concerning. And then, I don't know, he's going to have to figure something out with the Rams wide receivers.
I mean, keep in mind, Pollard
I
lost
didn't
a
really
fumble.
understand why Adams...
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I also don't understand why Adams was ranked so high. I just couldn't put 2 and 2 together all season long. Like, I think he was ranked as, like, wide receiver 15 among, like, on the consensus and a lot of pundits. Dude, the Rams just feed Puka the rock. Like, Puka was out for an entire drive with a concussion and still managed 10 receptions for 130 yards.
Yeah. For those who didn't see, he was bleeding from the eye, so they made him go out of the game and get a concussion check, which he didn't have one. Thankfully, so he got to go back in. But dude was bleeding from his eye, came back in, and you're thinking, oh well, 10 receptions, they must have fed him the rock. 11 targets, he caught 10 of them. That's like such a high catch rate. This is the guy that Stafford trusts. Who has Stafford trusted in the past? I don't know, guys like Megatron. Ever heard of him? Like, when Stafford's feeding you the rock, you're going to be a moneymaker. And so, yeah, wanting his number 2 target just seems weird to me. I think Pollard's going to be fine. I mean, he had 90 yards. Like, yes, he only ended up at 6 points because he ended up with a 9, and we don't do decimal points in our league, and he had a fumble. But 90 yards week 1 against Denver, which is arguably one of the best defenses in football. I think Pollard played really well. Even with how bad the Titans played, I think Pollard played really well. So if Gibbs can bounce back and Brake can find a wide receiver too, then I think this team is fine. I also don't like his tight end, as we discussed with Hawkinson. But yeah, that's our around the league. Those are all the teams we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, Ben, because we're going a little long in the tooth here. Any final words to say to the listeners out there?
Let's just hope if you had a bad week 1, that week 2 is a lot better for you. And if you had a good week 2, congratulations. And if you're in our league, I hope you have a worse week 2.
Well, yeah, as long as if you're playing me and Vinny, I hope you have a bad week 2. Anyone else, you go nuts. Vinny, we'll hear about your guillotine league next week, because I want Mitch to get to hear about it too. So go ahead and say goodbye to all the people out there, Vin.
Adios, peeps.
See ya.